I see me.
I do.
Um,
I had to mute my my Twitch, but
yeah, is what it is, man.
there we go. There we go. All right,
Hey,
I think
that
we're
works.
doing it. I think we're doing it. All right, man. How are you doing?
Pretty good, dude. Pretty good. I've been excited for this, to be honest.
Yeah, I have too. Ever since I saw you, ever since I saw that picture of yours go viral, I've got it up on my stream right now. Here, let me. Actually, it's fine right now. Yeah, I've got it up on my stream right there. That what is it? It says "Change my mind." Workplace workplace democracy. Change my mind. I love that.
Yup. I really wanted to go out with like a really controversial like stance because I feel like that kind of like draws eyes. So I went out there with like my shotgun. I went out there trying to like basically raise up an entire scene and try and just get eyes on it because honestly, as I was explaining it to most people agreed. Most people were like on board with it. They immediately like as soon as you explain your position, they're just like that makes a lot of sense. I don't know, man. You go out there and you're able to change minds so much easier if you're just out in front of people's faces.
I absolutely agree with. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, man.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say that I feel like typing out online and on Twitter and whatnot does nothing. It does nothing. People aren't gonna change their minds over Twitter. They kind of form like echo chambers, and they're not open to having their minds changed. But actually, out in person, whenever they have a face to attach to the ideas, I don't know, I feel like they seem a lot more receptive.
I completely agree with you, especially the concept of workplace democracy. It's super intuitive. So I saw a couple of videos. The first video I actually saw of you was a video in somebody was taking inside of their car, and they pulled up to you.
Yeah.
And they ask you, "What the hell does that mean, man?"
Mm-hmm.
And you were, I could tell you were so fired up and full of adrenaline. I guess you'd been getting honks and people screaming at you and all sorts of stuff all day, right?
I had people waving guns at me and shit.
Holy
like,
shit.
Seriously, like I was just like, oh, this is fucking strange. I didn't know what to do back, and I just kind of gave them a thumbs up and whatnot. I was just like, this is scary, dude.
That shit is so wild.
I was petrified.
Yeah, he pulls up to you and he goes, "Hey, what do you mean by that?" And you explain what. Actually, this is a good opportunity for you to go ahead and explain it. Go ahead and explain what you mean by that. And
so pretty much, workplace democracy is the concept of one vote. You abolish the thing from one share, one vote, where like shareholders are the ones that have control the majority of every decision made in the workplace, and replacing that with one employee, one vote. You work there, you got one vote, you're able to. I mean, it's extremely intuitive. It's how our entire government is run and set up. You would think that we would, disseminate that down to, I guess, like economics or economic progress. Man. So we have like political democracy, right? You would think like you can't really have political democracy until you have economic democracy. We spend a third of our lives, the majority of our adult lives, going and working in places where we have no say, no recourse to even like, hell, we don't even have like due process. If you get called out about something by like a manager or something, they pretty much have like free reign to do whatever they feel like to you. You don't have a say so in your workplace. So what it pretty much boils down to is I believe like employees should be the ones that own like the means of production. If you go in there and you work it, I feel like you're entitled to have a say so in how it's ran. If we can make it work on like a federal level, we can definitely make it work in one building, in a store, in a warehouse. These things are entirely intuitive, and I feel like it's the first step towards one of many steps that we could take towards a more egalitarian society. Really crappy explanation on it.
Hey, man, it's still really powerful stuff, because especially when you bring up the idea that you have no recourse at work when something
you have no due process, no adversarial process. There isn't any voting. There's nothing.
If something happens and you're on the wrong end of the stick, you're up shit creek.
You're screwed.
And
Yeah.
I think every person who's worked a job, who wasn't born privileged as fuck,
True.
has come into that situation one way or another.
Yeah.
And that kind of can really speak to people. So I really think that's why it was super effective. Also, the fucking shotgun, that adds the oomph behind the message, right? I mean, that
Right.
that puts
I think it's
that
worth
kind of
fighting
also
for.
it goes a long way to kind of dispelling a stereotype about
liberals.
liberals and leftists. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you go out there with a gun arguing for workplace democracy. That's like the most American fucking thing I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I loved that.
Yeah,
I can't
man.
tell you how cool that shit was.
Hey, look, man, I appreciate it. I just want to be able to have debates, democratic structuring, systems of appeal. If you do get in trouble and whatnot, because a lot of people that came up to me at that time and they were just like, well, what would you do if, man, what did this dude say? He was talking about his wife pretty much and saying like she got framed for something and, what would a union do for that? Because he kept conflating unions and workplace democracy. Even though unions are a good step, they aren't workplace democracy when it comes down to it. It's an
they're
intermediary
ultimately
step.
just a way to increase the bargaining power for the workers, not give them a direct say. It's just saying it's the negotiating tactic that says we can, as a group, withhold our labor, as a combative measure against like really aggressive bosses or businesses that would exploit them, right? So I mean, it's obviously a good thing, but being able to vote on stuff is a whole different game.
Yeah, I think it's extremely important. Because you think about it now, I've gotten in trouble at my job many times, many times. With those protests, I was actually set up right outside of my job.
Oh no shit!
You could see it right in the background. I can't say it on stream.
That's your job.
Yeah, okay,
dude. That adds a whole new layer to how fucking awesome that is.
Yeah, I work for a company, and I set up right out in front of it because I wanted it to be a One sec. There we go. All right, I got you back. I wanted it to honestly, I just wanted to be fired. I wanted them to have like a good reason to fire me so I could collect that fat ass unemployment. You see all the protests. Well, you see all the protests and everything now. These are like, I feel like they've been propped up, and like the reason people are so amped up right now and like so responsive like politically is because we're not tied to our jobs as hard as what we usually are.
Yeah, we're definitely in there's like an environment that I feel like we should have seen it coming more. I knew that when the shutdown started happening, people were like really just worried about, oh no, paying rent, this and that. They weren't. None of the news media, not even the left, was kind of prescient to the idea that people could like seize this as a political opportunity. Like this free time means
a lot.
Like I had no idea that it would be that. I mean, obviously it took a tragedy to kick it all off, but that's all it takes. All it takes is one little thing.
Yeah.
And
it makes me think of World War I and them killing Franz Ferdinand.
It was a powder keg. Like, it literally was. That's a great fucking example.
Yeah. So I think people should be more willing to seize this opportunity to go out. And honestly, I think I started protesting at a good time. I started about 2 weeks before like BLM and like the George Floyd stuff really started kicking off. So I was already making connections with like people in my community, and it kind of pushed me into a leadership role with like the Black Lives Matter movement here in my hometown.
Are you on the East Coast? Or
I'm actually like right above Dallas. I'm in Oklahoma.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. I'm from Texas, so we're not that far apart.
Hey, that's what's up. What area?
So I'm from Austin, but right now I'm in El Paso for my work. So I'm trapped in El Paso. The most I can say is that I'm in the military, so
I got you.
So I can't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to get back to Central Texas at some point.
Hey, if you ever make it back, man,
cool.
We could actually probably meet up. Yeah,
absolutely. I'd be totally down to have like a cool like a roundtable stream. You know what I
True.
mean?
There's
Maybe
a
we could find some people in Texas that would be willing to
seriously,
join
I
us.
feel like Austin would definitely be
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah, would definitely have a lot of people.
That's my hometown right there. There's a lot of people that are class conscious down there. A lot of dumb people too, but you know, it's a liberal town.
Look, man.
There's a lot of gentrification, but whatever.
Yeah.
You take what you can get.
Right. And I mean, just a couple people, literally, like, it's exponential power. Every person that you add to your group, I feel like, increases your power just a little bit, man. Because nobody really goes out there for one person. You go out there, you see one person, they're protesting, you're like, it's easy to write off. You go out there, you see 5 people, okay, you pay a little more attention. Go out there, see 10 people, now it's kind of becoming a movement. 150 people, you're able to shut down an entire town. Our first protest, we walked around the entirety of my town. It's not a very big town. It ended up being about a 6.5 mile walk, but Walmart closed down early. My job closed down early. All of these places, and for like weeks afterwards, they would set up like barriers outside of. You can hear some of the ambulances going by. They set up like barriers and whatnot. Like my job, they set up a whole bunch of like carts and like gun safes and everything out in front of the doors because I guess they were just that worried about us going and rioting and whatnot. Dude, it was ridiculous. And honestly, I feel like it was just a whole bunch of racism. Like when it comes down to it, I'm not even lying.
I'm laughing because you're right. Because a lot of the response to the protests recently is like clearly racially biased.
Yeah, dude, we got a lot of hate. We got a lot of hate.
I can't even imagine, obviously.
Dude, I've been called a lot of names. I actually went and I actually keep a pistol on me now pretty much at all times just because I go out and skate. I go up and pick up trash in my community. I'm out and I'm pretty much vulnerable. And you've seen like all the lynchings that have been going on with black dudes around.
Oh my God, that shit started a few weeks ago. And I actually there was a moment where my blood literally ran cold.
Yeah, dude. Like it's fucking ridiculous. My face has been like all over the newspaper. My stepsister's been all over the newspaper. I've been in the news and everything. So it's just like my face is like pretty prominent around here now. I can't get caught like that. If a racist is gonna come after me, I'm gonna at least take a couple of them with me. At least it's not to be like mean or anything. It's just
that's just the way it is.
Black leftists, dude. They get gunned down. You see, we still have
every
like,
fucking
KKK.
time,
dude. Yeah. We still got like 20 miles south of me. There's a KKK thing. 30 miles north of me, there's another KKK like org. I'm serious. But you see, these things are allowed to persist. The KKK is not considered a domestic terrorist organization, but the Black Panther Party was, and they got exterminated. So a black socialist with a gun is a kind of a scary thing for, I guess, most Americans. And I got a big ass target on my back. I gotta at least do something back.
I completely understand, and I think that's why it's really important that leftists in general, even
in the left,
exactly, we need to normalize open carry. We need to normalize gun ownership in general, responsible gun ownership too. Biscuits. And anyways, Squish Biscuits is my wife. She just give you a follow. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
I need to go in there and follow you. I saw that you stream more often than I expected, so I want to be able to catch
trying to get back into it. I've been like really caught up with my community organizing. I haven't really been able to like foster too much of my online presence, so I'm trying to get back into it now that like Juneteenth is over and like most of our events are done. I think we've got another protest coming up here soon, just to kind of keep some of the momentum going.
You know, have you considered live streaming your protests on your phone? Because Twitch lets you stream from your phone.
Dude, my carrier is T-Mobile. T-Mobile doesn't work here. Like it worked fine whenever I lived in Florida. It worked fine. In metro areas, it's great. It's cool. Out in bumfuck Oklahoma, doesn't really work that well. My dad actually gave me a GoPro to stream off of. Unfortunately, I can't use it because my phone doesn't have any good service out here. And this is actually like one model, just too short. It's the GoPro Hero 7 Silver or something. You need the Hero 7 Black to be able to live stream directly off of that. So maybe I'll upgrade it. I do want to stream like my debates and whatnot because I've lost a lot of footage. I've gone out there with my cameras and whatnot, tried to record a couple things.
Your street side stuff.
Yeah. I've tried to go out there and like stream, my street side stuff. Sorry. I tried to go out there and stream it before. It didn't work out, so I tried to just take my cameras out there. My camera, despite being like a decent camera, it would only like take like 9-second clips. So I ended up like losing all of my footage from the first one and the second time I went out there.
That's a complete bummer. Yeah, you need to do like a body cam thing. Do the
True.
body cam thing so you can go out there and capture the entire exchange.
Yeah, I really wanted to.
And then you can edit down into blocks of debates.
Right, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to kind of rip Steven Crowder's style and make it completely like the antithesis of his shit.
I did see that you had a table on one of the other videos. Yeah, pull up a chair, have a second chair.
I actually bought a
people to sit down.
Yeah, and I did have people come down and sit down with me, especially the first time here with the first image you have on stream. I had a dude sit down with me for like 2-something hours trying to convince me that unions were bad. And I'm just like, dude, unions, I don't give a shit about unions. Unions are a great step, and I still push for it even in my workplace. I'm trying to get cards ordered from the International Workers, whatever, the IWW. But with like the pandemic, like none of these unions have been getting back to me. So it's kind of unfortunate because I really needed that bargaining chip to go against my managers with. So is what it is. This dude sat down with me for a couple hours, and you got like a couple crazies that came up, and then you just have like the normal like, hey, what are you doing out here?
People who are genuinely interested.
Yeah
You can actually reach you know.
And honestly, I feel like I changed like a lot of minds that first time. The second time
powerful.
The police got involved like super fast.
Wait, what happened with the police?
So you see on this picture you have on stream, I'm on this one corner. I went diagonally across because there's like this little grassy, like kind of like a plain almost compared to this hill. And I just bought the canopy. So I set up my table, my canopy, like my chairs and whatnot. And they came out there pretty quick saying that it was private property. I was like, oh, okay, no big deal. They said it was fine to go back to my other side. But I was like, I won't have time basically to take it all down and then reset it back up because it was already getting to be like sunset anyways because it was like hot as hell. So I wasn't going out there at like 1 p.m., 2 p.m. I went out there at like 5. So
okay, you're waiting till the sun's already starting to set, and you had already set up, and they're telling you to move, so you're like, I might as well go home. Kind of thing.
And then the next week was our first march for George Floyd. So I haven't been out there since. But I do plan to go back out there.
Hey man, it's time.
Just for the content. Seriously.
I wish I could join you. I have a couple of weapons. I wish I could just strap one on my back and go out there and hang out. That'd be so much fun.
It's pretty much all we do. That's all we went out there and did. Just hang out, take some sunscreen.
I really think young, regular people with weapons out there advocating for leftists ideas,
causes,
especially like that, especially workplace democracy, something so intuitively obvious would be so powerful. I think if we could start getting that going across the country. But I'm limited right now as it is, but whenever I'm free, whenever I'm out, I absolutely intend on doing stuff like that once I get back to Central Texas, because Texas is the place to do this stuff. Oklahoma too, your kind
Oklahoma.
of like southwestern states.
I am an island in the middle of a Republican sea. Like, it's ridiculous.
I know what it felt like. I was in Austin for like 10 years. It's the exact same thing.
At least you got a whole town behind you.
It's a real town too, so at least
I mean,
it was a good island.
Texas is actually pretty purple. It's just the rural areas really overwhelm the cities, and it doesn't help with like gerrymandering and whatnot, or gerrymandering. I'm sure that they do that like extremely.
It's really
hard.
crazy. The gerrymandering is so bad. So what is it? The 21st district, House district in Texas. Okay, so here, get this. I lived in West Austin, which is a pretty bougie area of Austin, right?
Okay.
And then I went on my own after high school. That's where I grew up. After high school, I moved to South Austin, which is more blue collar, right?
Okay.
Lived down there, worked for a few years, and then I moved down to. No. I'm getting things out of order. Austin, right? West Austin. Then I went to college in northern San Antonio, right? And then I moved back to Austin, and then I lived in South Austin for a while. And then I went back to college when I was 25, a few years later, in San Marcos, which is the equidistant point between. It's a little town between San Antonio and Austin.
I got you.
In all of these places, I was in the 21st congressional district in Texas.
What?
Yes.
That's ridiculous. Oh my gosh.
You want to see a picture of it?
Yeah,
I think it's
actually,
changed
send me a
now,
little
but
link. You put it in the Discord if you can. That's ridiculous. I know like they do it really heavily in like red states and whatnot. They do it in blue states a little, not as much
oh
nearly.
my god, yeah.
But,
Every time I see this map, I'm like, holy fuck, dude. You can see where I lived. This is ridiculous. You can see exactly what they're doing. You look at the map and you're like, I obviously I can tell. Hold on, let me. Where's that Discord? I'm a boomer. Give me a second.
No worries.
There we go. All right. Oh, good. It loaded the picture in there, right in there. So you see the I-35 corridor. Here, I'm gonna try and get that open for everybody.
What the hell? Yeah, all the way from Austin through San Antonio, and then like a huge amount. Dude, that's a huge amount of like rural area as well, isn't that not?
So yeah, so yes, what they're doing here is they're capturing.
Yeah, as many blue voters as they can, while still
North
having
San
a strong
Antonio.
red district.
North San Antonio has UTSA, which is a college town.
Yeah.
That blue, oh my god. Actually, now that I think about it, when I was in the military doing my training, you see that little green kind of leg sticking out at the very bottom in San Antonio? I lived there too just a couple years ago.
Okay.
But anyways, so I've lived in like 5 different places and been in this fucking district.
Yeah.
But so San Marcos is a college town, UTSA, so a lot of younger voters there. South Austin just in general is full of like that demographic, a lot of Democratic left-leaning voters, and a lot of liberals, right? That whole I-35 corridor, you can see the little spaghetti strap, right? Yeah. All of that rural shit is there to cancel that out.
What's up, Sticky Man?
Those are all the Republican voters. Those are all like the country areas.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. And it's like they're able to capture a whole bunch of blue voters and shove them in a district with even more red voters, so it turns into a red district, despite probably having, you could probably get a couple districts. Like, that's ridiculous.
It's astonishing, ridiculous. Right?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. These things should not have legs.
They take these cities. San Antonio has a very massive Mexican population, and the Mexicans in Texas, the Latinos in Texas, tend to vote Democratic. Austin obviously is Austin, so you're taking chunks, you're slicing them into pies, and then you're capturing the rest of the I-35 corridor, which has a ton of college
Truly
students.
Sticky, man. Yeah.
It's fucked up. So yeah, I had a really weird time growing up in the Texas U.S. District 21 for 10 years and couldn't escape it no matter where I went. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's the reality. That's the electoral reality that needs to be destroyed right now.
Yeah. Give me just a second here. There's a district in North Carolina that I think got struck down by the Supreme Court.
Is this the one that said it was what is the phrase? That it was like specifically targeting black people, like specifically engineered to be racist.
Yeah, you're conflating two things. That was like a voter ID law where they surgically.
That's right. You're right.
Yeah,
I am. Yeah.
Hold up, let me see if I can get a picture of this.
That voter ID thing was basically like fucking Jim
surgical
Crow.
Precision.
Yeah. Oh, that's what that was the phrase, surgical precision or something like that.
New York Times, you are my
the
greatest
district
enemy.
Of where? The district we were just talking about is the 21st Texas U.S. district, the House district in the 21st Texas federal. This is the congressional. Sorry, it's my my chat asking. The federal congressional district. So this congressman goes to Washington. This isn't like a state rep. It's a federal representative. We were getting gerrymandered that bad. So the 21st. I think there's a few of them in Central Texas that are like that. All of that area is sliced in a bunch of different pies, and then all of the surrounding areas are, those big green blobs designed to soak up their influence. It's crazy.
Yeah. Here we go. I finally got a picture. This right here kind of
the surgical precision thing was a voter ID law in Which state? North Carolina as well. Yeah, North Carolina's had problems recently. Yeah. Well, forever technically.
True.
But yes, the courts shot down a voter ID law because they argued, and the evidence The evidence was very clear that
Overwhelming.
overwhelmingly obvious that this law with surgical precision was targeting black voters.
Yeah.
It was basically a Jim Crow-esque law, but in the 21st century. So.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that! This straight up
stream.
spaghetti.
Yeah, seriously, it's a freaking spaghetti strap.
Oh, that's insane. That's even worse.
Yeah.
You see, this one is different. This one is designed to concentrate a vote into one representative.
You see, it's mainly cities. You got Salem, Greensboro, and a big chunk of Charlotte. So what their goal was for that was to compress as many blue voters as they could into one district. That way they could spread out the rest of them red voters around to other districts to make them basically
much more powerful.
Yeah, make them a lot harder to flip, basically. So
yeah.
That's really cool.
Fun times with district
with
drawing.
Electoral politics, man.
Yeah, fun times. No shenanigans here, man.
None.
Totally a democracy. Totally free and fair.
Free and fair elections are what we run on. Anytime like the U.S. sees unfair or undemocratic elections, we go and topple those things. But we can't expect to be saved by anybody else. We have to change this from the inside.
Yes, and that type of advocacy you're doing, I think, is one of the crucial things that we need to focus on.
I appreciate that. I think we need to see more people out like that.
Yeah,
dude.
Absolutely. That needs to be a thing. I want to emphasize that. If you own weapons and you're a leftist and you believe in leftist ideology, you need to be seen carrying out in public.
Seriously.
There was a video I saw of a group of black activists arriving at one of the statue protests to counter protest a bunch of white dudes who were showing up with weapons to intimidate the black protesters.
Yeah.
And these guys showed up strapped, right? I mean, they looked bad. They looked badass, and they're out there basically saying like, hey, the news comes up to ask them a question. They ask them, hey, why are you out here with weapons? And it pissed them off rightfully.
That's really annoying. Yeah.
They're never asking them, why are they there with weapons?
Yeah.
So.
Well, you can see that reflected in the way that they treated the get back to work laws or the reopen the state protest. You see all the police out there and they're chilling. They're getting screamed in the face by a whole bunch of probably Rona carrying individuals.
No
like I'm not even gonna lie. And they do nothing. These people can be strapped. They ran up into the Michigan Capitol Hill with a whole bunch of weapons. Yeah, but nothing happens to them. We only see violence perpetrated against gun carrying people whenever they have leftist ideologies, and especially if they're black with leftist ideologies.
Actually, I don't know. Hold on. I haven't actually seen this violence being perpetrated against leftists with weapons. It's
I'm talking about
unarmed protesters.
Yeah. I was gonna say, carrying a weapon on you makes you a hell of a lot more likely to not get fucked with. It seems.
See, the left-leaning voters will go out there, or protesters will go out there, and they'll get fucking tear gassed and get the shit beat out of them.
True.
But that's the power of carrying weapons. Is that tear gas? I mean, the idea of the government committing violence against peaceful, open carry protesters. I don't think that really ever happens, does it?
No, but most of the people that are doing those open carry protests are right leaning and white.
Yeah, you're right.
Overwhelmingly white. So
yeah, I guess the sample is tainted by the fact that they're reactionaries that are doing this most often.
True.
But yeah, it needs to be normalized. That's really the lesson that we need to take away from it.
I think so too. The right loves to basically drop themselves off about the left hates gun, the liberals hate guns, and they just want to take your guns. They do it every time. Every time a Democratic president is elected, gun manufacturers' stocks just shoot up because people go and buy guns because they buy into this rhetoric that we're actually coming out to take your guns. When Karl Marx himself said any attempt to disarm the proletariat should be met with I can't remember what the quote was. Pretty much aggravated or with force. It needs to be met with.
I mean, he made the same exact argument that right wingers make about the whole point of the Second Amendment is what he was arguing, and so leftists need to internalize that. And then you have fuckers like like Beto O'Rourke going up there and saying we're gonna take
God.
everybody's weapons.
God, dude. You way to tank your freaking
That's why they have that
campaign.
ammunition. That's why they use it against
Yes.
us, because we have dipshits like that going up there and saying stuff like that.
And I was all the way with Beto until he started saying that shit. And I was like, dude, come on, man. Come on. You can't be doing this. Not in America, man. You make us look like crazies. You make us look like crazy. And you're not representative of us, like, in any way, shape, or form. He's literally like bending over backwards to like please like Democrats, not leftists.
It's the wine moms. It's the champagne. It's the intelligentsia.
The wine cave dudes, man.
Yeah,
I think
the wine
Buttigieg.
caves.
The Buttigieg
Wasn't that
people,
Beto,
bro?
Oh,
Yeah.
that was Pete, right? That was Pete.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
They're pretty much synonymous to me.
It gives me like tension headaches to think about the fucking primaries that just happened.
Yeah. As a European looking at, hold on, from Stiggy, man. As a European looking at the U.S. from the outside, the U.S. is switching every other year between first world and third world country like a search results featured snippet from the web metronome instrument. So I'm actually going to disagree with you here, Stiggy, man. From the outside, it may look like America's, first world and third world. No, we're strictly like third world in many parts of the country. A lot of these places don't have like clean water. Not only just Flint, Michigan, there's like 250 like other towns that don't have clean water, or they're like their lead levels are like way over the federal limit. But we don't do anything. We don't do anything about that. We have a one of the largest military budgets ever. You could combine the next like 9 people and still not grace the US's military budget. It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous.
God, I wish I could speak on this right here. I really can't, but I can tell you, I guess I can say the sheer amount of fucking... I've been in places where I look out and I will see a sea of vehicles and I'm like, these are more military vehicles.
Yeah.
Than most countries even have, just for the whole. And I'm in one base,
access to
in one place in the United States. I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is tens of millions of dollars worth of equipment right here, just sitting in a lot being unused. Yep. So,
and like, what's funny is like if they don't run up like
schools.
all of their
those are fucking schools that could have been built. You know what I mean?
Like healthcare, schools. Nope. Instead, we spend 24% of our entire budget, the entirety of the U.S.'s multi-trillion-dollar budget on just military. And I get like we have a ton of like overseas bases and whatnot that are used to project and maintain our sole superpower status. I don't care to be an interventionist like at all. To be honest, I think it's really cringe that we act like the world's policemen. And I mean, shit, you can even see it here. We don't like police even in the U.S. Why would they like us on the world stage being a policeman?
Well, from what I've seen, especially in Europe, there's a lot of friction caused by it, but their economies benefit greatly because the soldiers who go there are basically going there without paying rent, and they just spend all their money. So like the capitalists in those countries really like it because it's a transfer of wealth from the United States to their countries. Yeah. So they see it as mega supercharged tourism when you have people living there for 1 or 2 years and they have their full yearly salary going to what? They don't pay rent when they're over there. So some of them
Cuba
do,
and Guantanamo
but they have all this money to spend.
It's basically just
check. Like all expense paid fucking. So there's a little bit of economic incentive for them to want that, but that's not like a good reason to do it. That's like such a small fraction of the problem that it just needs to end. It's crazy. I think we have hundreds of bases around the world. Yeah.
I mean, everywhere, literally hundreds. Everywhere. Yeah,
it's like 400 or 500 or something insane like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a really strong arm of our neocolonialism. We don't practice like classical colonialism where we go and take over countries. We just like inseminate them with a whole bunch of bases and like going and toppling like democratically elected leaders and whatnot if they're unfriendly to us.
It's a wild new system that was created in the last 120 years or so. Like just before World War I started, that the classical colonialism, which the United States was like, starting to dip into with like the Philippines and the Spanish-American War and stuff like that. Yeah. We were just getting a taste for it, right? As a rising power. Then World War I happens and changes, and this whole projection of power concept becomes more important. Like having
I think it was even before that, man. Think like Spanish American War when we took over like the Philippines and like was it Cuba or something, and Puerto Rico.
Well, we took Puerto Rico, which my family. I'm only American citizen because I had family in Puerto Rico at the time. By the way, at the time when Congress decided in 1904 to unilaterally declare all Puerto Ricans as U.S. citizens by decree,
Puerto Rico should be a state.
It's almost like it's been done before. But anyways, for all you people worrying about the immigration status of Central and South Americans here in the United States, it can be done and it has been done. But we definitely dabbled with imperialist like strong arm going there, and like we straight up betrayed the Philippines.
Yeah, definitely. We said that we were there to liberate them, and it was pretty much like the one meme. You're just, oh, thanks, you freed us. Freed. It's more like you're under new management.
Yeah, it's like the Pringles advertisements, or no, Lay's when you.
Oh, that's cool.
You can't just have one, right? You have like a little taste of imperialism, and then immediately you're like, inject this into my fucking veins.
Crush it into a fine powder and snort it straight up your nasal cavity. I want it all.
Cuba's fucking next.
True. Yeah, true. U.S. is like a strange 50 kids stacked on top of each other trying to buy tickets to first world cinema. Dude, I think it's even worse than that. You got 50 kids. Honestly, you probably got like 50,000 kids. One of them will make it in, but literally like the kids that are born with money, they're able to like take the express line. It's like they have that fast pass at Disneyland and they're just able to skip like the entire line. So like while everybody else pretends like they're like temporarily embarrassed millionaires, they're not ever going to be millionaires. They're never going to be able to break into the echelon of the first world cinema, the first world theme park. You don't actually get to enjoy the fruits of American labor unless you're a capitalist.
It's really interesting that the one time recently, the last time, I had a fucking argument with my parents over this stuff. I refuse to do it now. I don't do it. I'm over it. I'm not doing that anymore with family. But one of the last times I did this, I brought up that idea that people are supposed to fail in capitalism. Like they like
there's an inherent contradiction. That's the system. Like that's it. It's running by design.
It's
literally supposed to have losers. You have to have losers. You have to have an entire underclass underpinning like the entirety of the top echelons. And conservatives will actually like argue this as if it's a good thing. I've argued with my with my half brother, and he's saying like it's a virtuous thing. You have to have people at the top. You have to have people at the bottom, and they're like dedicated to the keeping and like maintaining this hierarchy. And it's cringy as fuck because these people think that they're actually going to like. You know, maybe whenever I make it up there one day, I'll be able to like grind the people underneath my heel.
Yeah,
you're not gonna make it
like
dude.
A sick, it's my turn fucking attitude about it. But it's never gonna happen for 99% of you. And then there's the contradiction baked into the rhetoric, where this whole concept of an American dream and that anybody can go out and if they work hard enough they'll make it.
No, the American dream's been dead.
For every person who does that, there's like, aren't there 99 people who tried and can't, or can't even try in the first place, or are destined to like be exploited by this one person? Like
that's the only way to get to the
everybody top. Clamoring to be that one person is there's
the
no
only way that you're ever going to be able to sit on top is by exploiting people below you. That's literally the only way that's possible. There's no way that you can make with your bare hands $1 billion, a billion with a B. You can make $1 million. People do it. You know, I think like throughout the course of somebody's life, like they make like $2.5 million. So $1 million.
I think it's actually possible.
Pretty doable. $1 billion. There's no way that you'd ever be able to make $1 billion. Period.
No, you'd have to strike fucking gold, literally. You'd have to be exceedingly lucky.
Even if you found like an entire gold mine, literally rocks and rocks of just gold, you wouldn't be able to extract it by yourself to make $1 billion.
You'd have to start hiring people
and paying them a wage
that is less than their worth.
Exactly, less than what they make you, because if you pay them more than what they make you, well then you're losing money, and that just doesn't make sense. You wouldn't do that. Nobody would do that. And if you do that, somebody's gonna come around to undercut you and like push you out of the business. This is the inherent like system of capitalism.
Now imagine if you had all these gold diggers,
Mm-hmm.
and they democratically
Figuratively, of course.
elected their managers,
Ooh.
and when they
Ooh.
sold their gold, they split the profits evenly amongst themselves. So not only do they
Hey,
pay
look,
themselves a fair wage, because that's
Mm.
only why would
It's
you
only right.
vote to pay yourself less? But all the
Right.
profits from all that gold digging would go into the pockets of every single worker, and that would incentivize every worker to work harder because your
Yeah.
percentage, it's
You
a
actually have
percentage of the
an
net profit.
investment in your company. You actually have something to lose if you. Oh shit.
You know all that corporate bullshit about how like we're a fucking team and
We're a
you know,
family.
we live and die, but we're a family and blah. Well, no, that's like literally not true in like this. No, you're my boss, and I hate working here, and all this shit you're telling me is garbage. But
Dude, honestly, I think it's like an abusive relationship.
it's gross. It's
yeah,
honestly
it's-
one of the
it's
nastiest fucking things
fucking
that
disgusting.
about new corporate culture. This whole like, I almost respect like the old '80s like I don't know. Have you seen It's Always Sunny with Frank in fucking like he's the warthog and he's like the.
I haven't
Why are
seen
you
it.
cheering?
I don't too
I'm
much.
reading this meme right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Better like me, better watch their step. Like seriously,
yeah,
like that's what it is though.
You know
That's
the
how conservatives
the
sound.
Frank the warthog and It's Always Sunny for all the fans out there, where he shows up and he's got his fucking suit and tie like he's back in the '80s, and he's like the ruthless fucking boss who you know like I almost respect that mindset better because at least it's honestly like capitalist. Like it's
Right.
at least like
Right,
you're just getting the exploitation and abusiveness up front, and there's no bullshit
not,
to
like,
like mask it
subversive.
as like some
Yeah.
weird we're a family and you just fucking hired me, man. Like I don't care, just pay me. Like
Yeah.
that's really what anybody's thinking about this shit. It's so
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, it really is. And I don't know, I think it just really goes to show like how diametrically opposed the interest of the worker is to the interest of the managers and the capitalist class. It's like the people at the top want you to work as hard as possible for as little as possible. While obviously we want to get paid like a decent wage for our work and work as little as possible. I have a good graph that I always like to show to start off like people whenever they start at my job.
That's a good
I
fucking
immediately
point.
get a
Hold
of
on, one of my fucking I gotta or better yet, if I'm a family member, give me power. Don't you
Right.
respect your family members? Don't you like listen to what
like
they have
them?
to say?
Don't you want to see them succeed?
Don't you want to support and protect and nurture them?
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Fucking snakes.
Truly.
We could lead this into automation now if you want.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like a
yeah.
perfect place to
Hold
dive
up.
into.
It really is because I
like the
just got
fucking
this
future.
graph up. Here.
Oh,
nice. I like to
Here
show
we
this
go.
graph to anybody new that starts at my job. It's really like good praxis, I think, to really start to
hold on. Are you the guy that whenever there's a new employee, you're like, Psst, come
Yep.
here?
Yep.
No,
I just
come
had
here.
somebody like
Look at
start
this.
like a day or two ago. Like seriously, like I'll come
You're
up,
the guy
I'll
with the
ask how much
trench
are they
coat.
paying you? How much are they like what job are you here for? How much are they paying you? They'll go ahead and like usually tell me. They're usually like uncomfortable.
Sure,
but
yeah,
even
no, it's a little weird at first, but
because like that's baked into the culture here, at least like the work culture. Show graph. Hold up. Pretty much it's baked into the work culture. The only person that ever benefits from us not talking about our wages, which is a federally protected right, by the way, is the people at the top. They basically only do that just so they can continue to screw somebody out of getting paid like what they're worth. So my job right now, despite being strapped for people heavily, hard, this is the graph, by the way, they're still trying to screw people out of their jobs.
yeah, this is the one.
This is the one.
That's
this
the one.
is the graph. Get out of here.
Okay, there's two graphs. There's the this graph right here, which shows the productivity and compensation gap.
Yeah,
which is
you
gross.
can see it in about
And
like
then-
70 something. It starts to split around like 73, 74. It splits off, and you see productivity continue to rise and rise and rise on the same trajectory that it was already on.
It's a
But
linear
something,
change.
something changes here in like 73, 74, where our hourly compensation literally goes up nothing.
Neoliberalism
At its
into power.
finest, man. at its
That's
finest.
that's when neoliberalism entered the political game, was in the late 70s and early 80s.
Yeah.
I'm hearing now. Okay, so originally I used to think that Ronald Reagan was the first truly neoliberal president, but now I'm starting to hear that fucking Carter was. I don't know anything about the Carter presidency. That
To be
or
honest,
either
there's a
Nixon
gap in my
or
knowledge there.
yeah, there's a gap there. I don't really know that much about Carter that I really should, because I've
Yeah.
heard that Nixon and or Ford were the last like progressive presidents, as weird as that sounds to say, but like the last of that era of politics. Then you had the beginning of the neoliberal like Thatcher
One
era
sec, I
of
gotta grab.
like economics, right? The austerity laden fucking period of Western history. And then the other graph besides the productivity gap is the which looks almost identical. They correlate pretty strongly. Is the change in the whatchamacallit, the wealth gap,
oh, income inequality.
Yes, your inequality, your wealth and income inequality graphs, and your CEO pay graph, and your just all of the graphs that related, they all began at around the same time. And
True.
It's not a coincidence that
the 70s,
the economic perspective changed from being a more labor oriented capitalist system, which sounds weird to say, but you know what I mean. To a very
unions used to be a lot stronger back in that day.
Yeah, it became a much stronger supply side.
The CEO pay gap is ridiculous. It's like 350 times the average wage of the lowest paid worker. And I was actually looking and reading an article today on dollar stores, how dollar stores pretty much like suck like low income communities dry. Those companies, yes, dude. Those like Dollar Generals,
because I haven't heard anything about that.
Okay, so like Dollar General and Family Dollar, you got to think they move into like low income places that don't really have like access to Walmarts, access to like grocery stores and whatnot, and they provide like usually like really like substandard food.
I always see those Dollar Generals like right on the outskirts of towns.
Yeah.
Right when you're starting to enter the country, I always see Dollar Generals.
You'll see them everywhere. I actually used to work for Dollar General, the warehouse out here. But pretty much what they do is they're convenience stores. Pretty much, they don't really they jack up prices, and how do I explain this? So it'd be cheaper to go to and have access to like a farmer's market or even a Walmart. Even a Walmart would be better. You go into a Dollar General or a Family Dollar and you pay a premium for having that convenience of it being close to you. So think that these are placed in low income communities most times. These low income communities don't really have access to like vehicles, or I mean, even in my town we don't really have public transportation, and these are placed on like sides of towns that don't have any way to move, so you have to walk or ride your bike, and that's often what you'll see up at Dollar Generals. And
I had no idea that they were actually more expensive, but that's the power of that fucking branding. Dollar General, Dollar Tree, Family Dollar.
Dollar Tree is actually its primary demographic, its target demographic is middle class people, middle income. But Dollar General and Family Dollar strictly target like low income areas, and honestly, it's extremely predatory. Their CEO makes, I think, 800 times what the lowest paid worker makes there. Yeah,
shit.
It's really bad. It's really bad. It's like 800 or 5. Actually, I think I have this article on my phone still.
Man, we're like a decade away from having the world's first trillionaire, right?
Yeah.
And this shit is still going. Like it's just like it's just the never-ending march.
Yeah.
Like towards wealth inequality. Like the vacuum never fucking stops.
Right.
It's fucking crazy. Something's gonna change. There's no way it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
800 fucking times.
Yeah. Give me a second to source that real quick. I got this article. It's from ProPublica. How dollar stores become magnets for crime and killing is how this started out. Let me see if I can find it real quick. How do you search on freaking iPhones? Find on page. There we go.
That's a great question. I haven't had an iPhone in years. I'm thinking of getting the new SE. We'll see. I don't know. I've been on
Yeah,
Android for like 10
yeah.
fucking years,
Here it is.
but I'm worried about encryption and shit and security. Maybe that's marketing. Oh, did you send it to me?
Oh, I didn't send it. It's on my phone. I can send it to you in a second here. I'm going to read out this little line, though.
Oh, yeah,
In
go for it. Yeah,
2018,
read it out.
Vassos, Dollar General CEO, received more than $10 million in total compensation, nearly 800 times the median pay for workers at the company. Philbin at Dollar Tree was paid about the same amount.
You know, the median income is somewhere just over minimum wage.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
because
Dude,
that includes
Oklahoma
the managers
literally
who are
has
being
like
paid
a
$9 an
federal
hour.
minimum wage. Like they could pay you $7.25 here, and it's really funny because $7.25 was the exact wage that we were paid in 2009. And here we are in
I graduated
2020.
high school in 2008. In 2006, when I first got my job, I was getting paid $7.25 an hour.
Ridiculous, man. Ridiculous.
It's been 14 years. It's been 14 years. 14 fucking years, and it hasn't even changed.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I get yelled at by my sister. She's a big lefty. She'll actually be on my channel at some point in the next couple weeks. She's fucking awesome.
Hey, that's what's up.
She's the one who honestly drew me. Her and her boyfriend drew me left over the years more and more. Just hearing them drop some little bits of rhetoric. I've always been receptive, but they were the big ones. But oh fuck, where was I going with that? We were talking about
ridiculous. You're talking about your sister. She's a real big lefty. We were talking about you were being dragged left.
Fuck, I lost my train of thought on that one. I'm gonna have to let it go. Maybe it'll pop back in my mind. I won't do that thing where I spend a whole minute trying to rack my brain because I'm ADHD. We'll move on.
No worries.
Yeah, it's gone. Automation. So what are your thoughts on it, man? What do you? This is where things start to get, in my opinion, sci-fi, right? This is where we start to get into the realm of potential futures.
Yeah.
All the different like in Terminator, the future is not set, right? Like there are many routes we can take.
Truly.
So what route do you think we're gonna take, and what route do you want us to take?
So, honestly, thinking about automation is actually what initially like pushed me into a more socialist direction, because I was sitting here thinking about it, and one thing that really keyed me off was my dad is a truck driver. He goes around and drives around the country, does a whole bunch of things. You see a lot of companies now. You see Tesla, Mercedes, BMW. They're all coming out with autonomous, like semis and whatnot, tractor trailers. They're able to go across. I think, was it Tesla or Mercedes or something? Basically, they're able to go all the way from California to New York autonomously. Thinking about that, you would.
By the way,
how many?
In the United States, there are 3.5 million truck drivers.
Yeah, it's one of the most like highly chosen careers in, I think, like 38 states or something. Like you'll see like the most, like, I can't remember what it's called, the most employed like by career or whatever, and you'll see truck driver like plastered all over states. So thinking about that, and I'll get to that point later. You see all of these autonomous vehicles and whatnot, it's going to like put out all of those people that are working, because they don't need to stop. They don't need to rest. They literally just go and go and go. They don't even need to really be paid outside of the initial investment up front and maintenance cost. So whenever you really like take it to its logical conclusion, of course corporations are going to move into autonomous vehicles over actual like human workers. They have every incentive to, and if they don't do that, some other company will come along and undercut them and run like an entire autonomous fleet of vehicles.
It's the logical conclusion of capitalism, isn't it?
Yes.
It's the logical conclusion of the profit motive.
Yes, it's its own self-destruct button. Capitalism has that. It's already built in.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that, because I like to make the argument from a leftist perspective that capitalism is just going to do what it does, right? It's a machine, right? It goes in its own direction, but it's self-defeating. It's self-defeating.
Yes.
It works towards its own destruction.
Yes.
Via automation.
Yes, yeah. So maybe Marx couldn't have seen it like all the way back then. I think he wrote on this.
Oh, he totally did.
Yeah.
The linchpin of his thing, he couldn't have possibly imagined self-driving fucking electric vehicles built by South African dudes, right? Like,
right.
he absolutely, like, part of the linchpin of his argument was that the shortening work week, the increased productivity brought about by capitalism will create the conditions that will necessarily lead to the evolution of the economy towards like a socialist state.
You would
And that,
think.
I know I paraphrased, obviously. If there
Yeah.
are like book nerds in there that are gonna get mad at me, that's okay. Like, whatever.
Hey,
But-
look, man,
but
I
that's
haven't
how
read my
understood
theory,
it.
man.
that's how I understood it.
Yeah.
And it's like probably one of the most powerful arguments that we can make. So I want to
Seriously.
let you keep going.
Okay, so not only do you have the truck drivers that are going to get put out of work, think of all the satellite industries around them. Think hotels, think truck stops, think what are some other things that go, like restaurants and whatnot. A lot of those depend
that's
on
all really fucking good. It's so interconnected.
Depend on those truck drivers. A lot of those are going to be hurt just as hard when those truck drivers are put out of work as the truck drivers themselves. So if you think about it, like even just that one technology is going to have huge ripple effects, like all the way down the line. And then you have a whole bunch of other technologies coming in, like claiming jobs out from under people all the time. You see Trump talk about coal miners all the time. We don't really have that many coal miners nowadays, but even that, like what we do have, a lot of that is aided with automation. They have like autonomous drills, and like you don't need nearly as many people employed as you as your technology like increases and whatnot. You get more efficient because those people just operate the machines. You don't have people going in there with pickaxes anymore and actually like legitimately like mining out the coal like by hand and getting like coal lung and shit, or black lung. You just have machines go in there and do it, and they're able to just invest in these machines one time, do a couple little maintenance runs every once in a while.
You have a couple of mechanics on payroll
huge
a
productivity.
Bunch of vehicles.
Yeah. So you just get like, it's just a way to like shore up more and more profits. So there, it's in their entire interest. Their entire like prerogative is to increase profits. That's all they are. That's all corporations are here to do, right? At least like publicly traded ones, and I would say there's a really big argument for even privately traded ones.
Damn, I'm trying to find the actual number of truck stops there are in the U.S. But I'd be shocked if there were less than 10,000, 20,000 total.
Yeah,
you know, like
yeah,
there'd be tens
shocked.
of thousands of these things.
Yeah, I would be shocked.
They hire what, 20, 30 people each, maybe
probably.
20. You know,
they got like a couple mechanics on site and everything.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I've gone around like the U.S. with my dad in his truck, and I mean, we stopped every night at a truck stop. So,
yeah, it's essential to the business.
Exactly.
And capitalists, right? Whether you are, the Flying J CEO is upset about it. He's worried about it.
Oh,
but
for real?
Well, you know what I mean. Like he's worried about the future.
Yeah. Of
his
course,
business is in danger.
Mm-hmm.
But the other capitalists, the ones who are in the business of actually transporting goods, and like your Walmarts and your
Amazons,
Teslas and your whatever,
Amazons,
the ones who know that they can, your Amazon especially, they know that they can cut out the middleman, as it were. When you don't have to compensate truck drivers, and you don't have to spend as much money on vehicle maintenance because electrical vehicles are just better.
They don't have as many moving parts.
Internal combustion ones. They have lower maintenance. When you don't have to worry about that stuff and they're self-driving,
not to mention
you're going to make a lot more money.
Exactly. So they have every interest to move into that new technology, that new field, to just eliminate cost. It's a cost cutting maneuver for them, outside of the initial investment up front.
Yeah, like I think that this is like one of the best arguments that leftists can make to make non-leftists more receptive to leftism. It's one I use a lot, and I mean I could run it down in like 15 minutes. I've pretty much got it down pat to anybody. I need to work on my like pitch, but I'm pretty good. If somebody's willing to listen, I could like talk their ear off about it. Make them see that capitalism just does this. We're taught this in school, that capitalism has improved, materially improved the worker's life, right? Just by improving our productivity and making job spaces safer, because employers don't want to spend all this money on healthcare, and there's like all these incentives, but eventually the incentive will be to get rid of the worker.
Right.
They don't want manual labor.
Right.
They don't want people there.
They don't want to have to pay insurance costs or sick pay or vacation. They literally want you to show up, do not do anything else but work your ass off. So I was going down that path. I'm trying to remember where I was in that train of thought, and I think
you were talking about Oh no, I did it to you. We were talking about truck automation, truck stops. You were going around the country with your father. I think
Yeah.
that's where you were last at.
Mm.
You would stop. You stopped every night. Um, I know that the questions I asked you were,
Oh,
where do you
oh,
think we're
oh.
gonna go, and
Yeah,
where do you
yeah, yeah,
want to
yeah.
go?
Yeah, that's where I was getting. Um, so with all of these people being put out of work, you're going to see more and more income inequality like fucking skyrocket. Because I mean, these people aren't going to be able to work at all in any way, shape, or form. You're going to get automated out pretty much everywhere. I remember my train of thought. The rise of automation is completely different than the industrial revolution and the second industrial revolution and the agricultural revolution, because every time like those came, well, not the agricultural revolution obviously, but every time like these huge like technology like revolutions happen, there's people in the background saying you're going to put a lot of people out of work, you're going to put a lot of people out of work, you're going to put a lot of people out of work. But every time, like, nothing, that doesn't really happen. Farmers are more productive, but those people, they have people that maintain those machines, that go and build those tractors and whatnot. So like the workforce transitions into something else. This is something entirely different, an entirely different beast, because we aren't replacing like jobs with different jobs. We're not replacing jobs with like other people. We're replacing them all with robots that only really just need to be maintained. So you have all of the production and none of the cost. They have every incentive to move towards that. So
What happens when these robots can
take
be
over all
maintained by
those
other
jobs.
robots?
Right. Again, seriously, like these are things like we have to really like start confronting in the next 10, 15, 20 years, because we don't have too much longer until we have like a general level intelligence AI. They're predicting like 2050, 2060 maybe is what people in the field are talking about.
And what happens when those maintaining and productivity robots can be designed by other machines?
We already have AIs that can already do
So
programming, that can do
so
programming by
yeah,
themselves
yeah. Well, if they can program intelligently, if they can design the hardware
intelligently.
intelligently, and then send those orders automatically to automated factories that can fabricate them,
Right.
that go to other that and then assemble them automatically, and then transport them automatically, and then if we have a energy grid that is no longer dependent on fossil fuels
Mm-hmm.
and
Be
can
it
be
hydroelectric,
maintained with very
wind,
little
solar.
amounts of maintenance with like
Yeah.
solar power and such, where do
Where
people
do the
fit in?
profits go? Exactly. And that's my entire thing. People are going to get pushed out if we don't set up like social safety nets right now. There's going to be a lot of strife. There's going to be a lot
Oh,
of
it's already
anger.
happening.
Yeah, it's already happening to a really big extent. We're not really
We
seeing like
we
the
did a
full
test
throes
run
of it.
this year. We did a little
Right.
test run of how that worked.
And you see how it's going down. So whenever there is an inevitable revolution, if we don't like put checks on this now and set up social safety nets to catch them people falling through the cracks, we're going to see one kind of revolution or another. To me, either we're going to go extremely far left or extremely far right. Now, me personally, I would like to see a more socialist, egalitarian society over a fucking fascist one.
Yeah.
Because that's literally like the only two options. We're going to fall into one or the other. Uh-oh. Did I lose you?
Oh, did I?
I still
Okay, I
hear
think
you.
my stream. Yeah, I think my stream just died. Hold on.
Yeah,
I
looks like it.
apparently my internet's not out, but I guess my stream
Oh,
had
you're
a
back.
moment. Oh, I'm back.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, I think my Streamlabs or something had a problem. We never disconnected on Discord, so everything's good. We're good.
Yeah,
We're good, everybody.
we're good.
Continue.
So whenever I think about those things, I think like a socialist society would be a lot better for the majority of people over a fascist one, because fascism has to be kind of propped up on basically like suppressing like a lower class, whatever class it is that they decide to choose at that point.
Some eternal struggle. I was actually having a conversation. I want to get to this. I want to talk to another leftist. Hey, refresh your. Hold on, I guess they need to refresh in my chat.
Yeah.
Because they just said. I'm gonna put a link. I'm gonna write a note real fast, and I want to get to that in a moment, because it's actually something that concerns me, and I want to ask your advice.
Okay.
Because I want to continue down this thread of automation, and then I want to get into the whole fascism thing, because that shit fascinates me. I'm gonna grab another Red Bull. you want to take a quick break and put a?
Sure.
Do you need to go to the restroom or anything? Because I do.
Nah,
I'm gonna
nah,
grab
go
another
ahead,
Red
dude.
Bull. I'm gonna go to the bathroom and I'll be right back.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right, just like 5 seconds.
No worries, dude. Take your time. Cool. Well, it is just me here now. I'm gonna
Just a moment, everybody.
take a second to go check my stream out. Yo, I appreciate everybody that's out. Honestly, we're having a really good chat. Like, I appreciate this, dude. I'm actually having a lot of fun. It's really nice to be able to talk to other people that agree. Now, obviously, I do want to transition into debating people that don't agree with me, so I can like start sliding some more people over to the left. That will come probably later on. Like, I do like to go out and debate people. Generally, I talk to people mostly like in person. I don't really have those connections to I don't know. I don't know how to find people online to debate. It's really cool that me and Apes were able to get together. Honestly, I'm not too sure how to go about finding like Nazis and shit and fascists. This has been an excellent conversation. We appreciate that. So, man, yeah, I'm definitely here for things like this, man. I'm having a lot of fun. It's
All right.
definitely good food for thought. Fruit for thought.
All right, I'm back, man.
I didn't take
Okay,
too
I'm
long.
back, everybody. I hope this has been a good conversation. I've been having so much fucking fun.
Yeah, seriously, it's been nice. They're saying it's pretty good.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm very glad. I'm new at this, so this is only my 3rd talk, and I do have a couple coming up. I would
This
love.
is my
by the
first.
way, before
Like,
we
I don't
continue,
ever
I'd
bring
love to
people
talk
on.
with you again in the future.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Most
super
definitely.
down.
We'll definitely be working together a lot more from here on out.
Hell yeah! So hopefully I
that
can get my
sounds
setup to
horrible,
look as
Squish
super
Biscuits.
clean as yours. But one day I'll catch up. Don't worry.
Hey, no worries, man. We all got stuff.
Right. So
What's
we were
up?
talking about automation.
Hit me up. Yes.
Your thoughts. Okay, so I think we got your thoughts on how you think automation will go. Right. You've been talking about how
Depending
using
on if
the
we set up any kind of social safety nets or anything. But go ahead.
Yeah. So you're okay. So you were used the truck driving industry, right?
Yeah,
Millions of people employed, like probably
millions.
10 million people involved. I mean, a
and
huge
supporting,
number of
yeah,
our
supporting
population
staff. Pretty
are at
much.
risk of losing their jobs in the
Mhm.
next 20, 30 years.
Not
with
even.
nowhere to
Not
go,
even,
right?
like
not
10
not
or
even probably
15.
10 years. I mean,
Yeah.
Tesla's got semis built. And
Yeah,
they
I
can
mean,
self-drive
these companies
already,
are, yeah, and then they're making trips across the entire U.S. All you would need really is somebody to pick it up off the highway and just put it in the warehouse lot. Like, that's it. It's literally
see
like
what
a
you mean.
1 mile trip.
Like somebody that
Yeah.
like it pulls over and somebody hops in and drives
Yep.
it in for the last bit, and that could
Yep.
just be a warehouse
For the
worker. It
last
doesn't
mile.
have to be.
Yeah, that's literally all they got to do.
So that's where, and I agree with you. I agree with you that we are woefully unprepared.
Truly.
Climate change popped into my mind because that's
Mm-hmm.
how unprepared we are for this economically, right?
Did you hold on? Did you see the flooding in what town was it? It was in California, some town.
No.
I thought it was really.
Oh no, what happened?
Oh, dude, like they had a confluence because it was a full moon and whatnot, so they had high surf and
Okay, there was a tides thing.
it flooded like the entire town. It made it 3 blocks into the town, and this is like here in America, dude.
I wonder how many people on those streets don't believe that climate change
It's
is
like
happening.
Paloma Beach or something. I can't remember.
How many of those residents were like, this is perfectly normal?
Dude, like everybody was like looking around.
Newport.
Like, what
Is this
the hell?
Newport?
Newport, yeah, Newport Beach. Apparently full of racists, so like they kind of deserved
well.
it. At least the people on Twitter were
Oh,
saying it's full of
Jesus.
racist.
No, ABC7. Stop. I don't want to hear about your fucking Chrysler advertisement.
True. Yeah, really funny.
Oh
Climate
my
change
god, they are up to their
ankles.
up to their
Like
ankles
seriously.
and shins.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
I'm gonna
I
post
thought it
this
was.
on the chat for us.
I thought it was
That's-
funny as hell.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
Just
We're
annoying.
already. What I'm getting at is we're already seeing the effects of climate
Don't
change.
laugh. Yeah, you're probably right. I probably shouldn't laugh at them.
Yeah.
It is. It's going to be tragic because this is just the
This is-
the taste. This is
the-
the hors d'oeuvres, right?
The thing is with climate change for me is that we here in America and like most of Europe will be able to set up like systems, like think like seawalls and whatnot that third world countries can't afford. We'll be able to mitigate the major brunt of climate change and its effects through like irrigation. We're not going to really have like big issues with droughts. We will always be able to like throw money at a problem and make it go away pretty much. Think like the majority of countries in like Africa, South America, India. These countries can't really, or Southeast Asia, India.
Southeast Asia.
Yeah. These countries aren't going to be able to afford to for like climate change mitigation like effects and whatnot. They're going to be destroyed. Like third world and like developing nations are going to be like roasted by this. We'll be able to like mitigate most of those effects. These,
you know what we won't be able to mitigate though, right?
What's that?
The inevitable immigration crisis that will result.
Yes. Yeah, because I mean, we'll be like,
if you're a conservative and you worry about immigration, I'm not that worried, right?
Yeah.
Unless we actually, unless it's literally hundreds of millions of refugees, that's a problem no matter who you are. But
the climate wars,
if that's what you're worried about, is immigration, you need to start thinking about climate change.
Right. Right. You don't want brown people in your country? Hey, man, you should probably make their countries a little better, because the entire reason we have like a whole bunch of immigrants from like Latin America and whatnot is because we went and fucked those countries up by being imperialist assholes.
Yeah.
We went and like completely, like, I mean, Honduras is like the murder capital of the world. Mexico, like a third of it is like run by like some cartel, like up in like the Sinaloa mountains and whatnot. They murder
we're
like
not allowed to go
congressmen
into
and
Juarez.
whatnot.
And I'm like, I can see Juarez from my apartment, like, it's
because it's literally like
there.
it's the fucking war on drugs, dude. Like, that's what it all comes down to. Basically, we went and fucked all these countries up for really like no reason, and that's the reason they all immigrate to the U.S. is to get better opportunities. When if you don't want any brownies in your freaking country, make sure like they got a good country to stay in themselves. If conservatives are so worried about these people coming into their country, make their country a better place. They won't want to leave.
It's some simple logic, but some people just don't want to engage with it. Yeah. So
well,
we're
because
the
that
hard way,
actually,
but as we saw with the masks, I think this is the COVID-19 thing. Look, dude, I'm a biology major. My wife's a biochemist.
Oh wow!
This whole fucking COVID thing is like a tiny, like the snow globe, like of climate change. Like if you take the whole climate change discussion, how long the time frames we're talking about, it's been theorized for 100 years that this would happen, and then it became scientifically valid, like in terms of the observations, like 40-50 years ago, and now we're seeing the
plagues supposed to get better or worse with the rise of like climate change and whatnot. Like that's going to be another effect that we have, more and more virulent pandemics and whatnot.
And we're seeing the reactionaryism from the mask issue. We saw it play out in chapters, right? No. We saw it play out with climate change. America is the one fucking place on Earth that not the one place on Earth, but probably the most important place on Earth where this anti-intellectual stream of like a science denying
dude.
Oh my God. It really makes me
so
upset.
Bad. That dude that I debated for 2 hours engaged in just heavy anti-intellectualism. I'd show him.
I need to go see that. I didn't know you had to debate with a science denier.
I didn't. This was like my first protest. It was like IRL, and I lost all the footage. So it's not available online. Dude, it really is. It really is. It was a really good one because it shows like the leaps in like mental gymnastics that conservatives go through to like validate their points. Generally, what it comes down to is after you show them all of these studies, they don't want to engage with it, like at all. They don't want to engage with it at all. What they will engage in is anti-intellectualism. They'll point out sources and whatnot. Oh God, you look at Pew Research. Oh God, what about this university?
You saw the debate with the Destiny and Vosh debate with fucking Stryker and them. When they brought up when they go, where'd you get that source from? I was like, dude, if it comes from a California university, they're like, you already know their fucking response.
Yes. Every time, and it literally, and I think this is really like indicative
California.
of the,
you know what I mean, like,
I think this is really indicative of what was I getting at?
Anti-intellectualism. You were talking about the debater you had.
Oh, conspiracy theorists, like conspiracy theorism. I don't know what changed in like the American psyche that made like conspiracy theories so like prevalent, but I think that really is like what has kind of eroded our faith in like experts and like institutions and whatnot.
it does seem to be more prevalent here than elsewhere, doesn't it? Like,
I
me
don't
and
know.
my
I don't
wife were
really have any
talking about
like
this last
experience
night,
elsewhere.
and I brought up the this research that I found that found that the average American adult is not as intelligent when it comes to math, reading, and critical thought.
Yeah,
Like, sort
and
of
that's
like a
by
shitty
design.
IQ test or something like that.
Yeah,
The
that's
average
by
American
design.
falls behind most of the other industrialized countries, except for
course.
maybe Italy and Spain, I think.
Yeah, well, they're
And
like the redheaded stepchildren of
yeah.
the EU.
And the other one was like 26% of Americans believe or misinterpreted the
Engage.
question, which also doesn't look good, that the
Oof.
sun revolves around the earth.
Oh, Jesus.
26% of adults polled.
Yeah.
It was like the sample size of like 2,200, so it's like that's like 500 people answered that.
Yeah.
Like that's like, it just makes me it makes me so sad to think about where we went wrong. And that's a good question. Like, it is conspiracy. We have a conspiratorial culture.
Yeah, and
even liberals with the Russia thing. I was prey to it, right?
shit,
You know, I got into that 4 or 5 years ago. I was like, oh, Russia, and then I started to realize, like, dude, it's not changing anything. It doesn't matter. But there's definitely a conspiratorial thread in our culture that's really strong and really
what's
prevalent.
really sad is studies have been done on this. If you believe one conspiracy theory, you're more likely to believe another. And I mean, dude, and it just kind of just goes down from there. It's like,
snowballs, man.
Really ridiculous.
Have you seen All Gas No Brakes?
Is that a YouTube channel?
Yeah, it's a YouTube channel. It's hysterical.
It came up like once in my feed like the other day, but I didn't watch it.
Go in there and just watch his Flat Earth conference video if you want to see some weird shit. It's hysterical.
Jesus.
It's funny.
Is it
as
a
fuck.
strictly American phenomenon? Like,
no. Like,
I know, like, we're getting a lot of
yeah.
I know we're getting like a really big like spike in like far right sentiment among like us and like Europe and whatnot, and I just wasn't sure if it like coincided with.
I absolutely think they coincide.
Okay.
I think they're correlated.
I think so too.
Because if you talk now, we're getting into fascism. This
True.
The obsession with the occult, the obsession with an eternal struggle and a global conspiracy and all this stuff, and fascism go together hand in hand. They love each other. This idea of a worldwide conspiracy to do this or that is baked into fascist ideology.
Yep.
So it's no wonder that it happens to attract conspiratorially minded people towards it.
Yeah.
Because it's easy. All it has to do is, if you're a Nazi, all you got to do is blame the Jews. If you're just a regular old fascist, all you have to do is blame like international corporations,
whatever minority,
and bankers,
or like what is that word they love to use? Fuck. It's not like Jews or whatever. Like they got like
Zionists.
Yeah.
The word Zionists. Yeah. That word comes up in that video, the All Gas No Brakes video. You will see.
True.
Okay, you think flat Earth guys? Oh, they're just like some wacky. They got some religious hangups when it comes to.
That's what I was referencing with the.
They dropped the New
JQ
World Order,
all
Illuminati.
the time.
They dropped the fucking Jewish conspiracy. They throw the word Jew around constantly. Oh my god, it's like these people might not be Nazis, but like. All they need
I don't
is
know if you believe in the JQ. To me, you're a fucking Nazi. Like, I don't know, man. When it comes down to it,
I feel like they just need one dude to walk in and be like, "Hey, guess what? Do I have the political ideology for you?" You know what I mean? Like,
ridiculous.
It's actually fucking. Oh, there was one dude who I'm pretty sure was like actually a Nazi, because it just starts with him going like, Hitler was like he just starts talking about how Hitler was like the victim of a worldwide conspiracy to make him look bad. He like quickly cuts away so you don't hear the whole conversation, but it was so fucking funny.
It's really bad.
Pretty sure that guy was actually a Nazi. But,
of course.
Yeah, he said Hitler was misrepresented. Like, what are you talking about? How do you misrepresent the Holocaust? But anyways,
Jesus.
Yeah, so the fascism thing. So
hit me up.
I have a friend who. Okay, so you watch Vosh, so I think you you've seen him talk about that Arch Warhammer guy, the weird
Yeah,
fashy
yeah, the
Warhammer
dude with
fan.
like the weird accent and whatnot, like really try
Yeah,
hard. Even though he's Finnish, he puts on like this really thick English accent.
and he's like a Scandinavian dude, like
Yeah, he's like from
English is his
Norway
second
or
language, and
something. Yeah,
he's leaning hard into that aesthetic, right?
extremely.
And
Yeah,
it just
really
so happens
cringy.
that he's a fucking Nazi. Like they released
Yep.
his Discord logs, and
Ooh,
there's so much Nazi shit going on in there, right? He's a Nazi.
ooh, damn.
Well, and then there's this whole discourse about the Warhammer culture, the gaming culture. It's a cool like sci-fi setting, right? But it seems to attract a lot of fashy dudes,
Yeah.
fashy sentiment stuff, because ultimately, like, all of the races are just horrible fascistic like nightmares.
Yeah.
You know, the whole grimdark thing. Well, at work, I had a friend of mine who I believe is nominally progressive and actually quite receptive to socialist ideals.
Okay.
But then we started talking about Warhammer.
Oh.
And he started talking about, it was really weird because he actually said something that kind of like concerned me. He said, fascism sucks, but I wish we could reclaim it. Or I wish it could be redeemed.
Ugh. Yeah.
And I was like,
Cringe, my dude.
physically recoiled.
Ooh.
from-
Yeah. Yikes.
from that sentiment. I went, ugh, like what do you mean? Like,
yeah.
like how do you? So we had like a few hours of conversation, and it was all about
Is he
Warhammer.
like a tanky or something, man? Or like a Nazgul
No.
or something?
That's what I'm afraid of, is that he's like in danger of like becoming a Nazball or something like
See,
that.
because I've been seeing
as
people
far as I
like
know,
on
he's just kind of
Twitter.
like he's hyper vegan. He cares deeply about the environment and about animals and plants. He loves science.
Eco-fascism is still fascism.
Yeah, but like all his other belief systems are like super hippie, right?
Okay.
And then we talk about Warhammer, and the dude suddenly stands fascism as a concept because it's romanticized within this fiction.
Is it?
And
Okay.
it's not. I mean,
okay.
the whole lesson, according to the creators, is how fucking horrible it is. But like, you know, Arch and Warhammer,
People will
those
always. You see people talk about like the Matrix like all the time, the red pill and the blue pill, and it's like they're taking it completely out of context, and it's just like
so important to understand what they were talking about instead of just worrying about what it looked like, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, like what do we do? Like, how do I approach that? Because I think I got him to realize at one point that fascism, because it has inherent contradictions with the way, you know, it's inherently irrational when it comes to believing that an opponent is the eternal struggle that they face is simultaneously strong,
really
and the double speak
really
thing about
weak.
it, right?
Yeah. They
feel
do
like
that
I
with the
got him-
Jews like all the
I feel
time.
like I got him to concede, but I'm like worried that it didn't work. So how would you approach a situation like that? How do you approach talking to fascists or people who might be receptive to it?
See, I haven't really like engaged with many like fascists like in real life. I debate a lot of conservatives, but I've never actually like met someone that was like full on like white nationalist, because they avoid me like the plague. They generally don't
this
engage.
guy's he's one of the refugees that came from the Bosnian genocide.
That's
He's
weird.
As a kid, he came to the United States, right? So he has had contact with extreme discrimination and racism and violent reaction towards his people, right?
Mhm.
And he's very anti-racist. He like strongly supports BLM, but it's like, wait, I just like tapped into a window into his mind of this like idea that could be exploited by somebody.
Yeah. Somebody just needs to like foster that seedling just a little bit, and like he can sprout it into a full blown like fucking fascist. That's really scary, because I feel like a lot of people have those seeds already sown. America is not immune to fascism, like in
Absolutely.
any way, shape, or form. And honestly, I think we're closer now than what we were even in like the 30s and whatnot.
I think I agree with you. The 30s were a freaking time.
We had a Nazi party. We had an American Nazi party in the 30s.
I think it's so much more subversive than it was in the 30s, because Nazis were like, Nazism, like fascism was a new ideology. It was a new concept.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they were like, we need to make a party and
test
then
the
adopt
waters,
the aesthetics, and then have the banners and have political rallies, right?
Yeah. It wasn't associated with like hate and vitriolic like discontent.
It wasn't associated with genocide yet.
Yeah.
But now it's like fascists are like, no, we have to be smarter. We have to.
Well, that's why they do dog whistling all the time. You can see I'm very open with like what my political stances are. It took me a little while to be like comfortable with it because you get a lot of hate from Americans. Americans don't like the word socialist like at all, but that's a product of American propaganda, especially like all the way through like the Cold War and whatnot. Better red than dead, right?
Yeah.
So
the,
like. But I'm able to come out and like still justify my beliefs. Nazis, they can't do that. They have to work from the shadows. They have to dog whistle like all the time.
They have to be subversive, or they can't survive.
Yeah, exactly. So they're able to spread their ideology, and we're almost like none the wiser for the most part.
They're good at it.
Exactly.
And that's what's really concerning.
They're extremely good at it. That's the worst part about it.
They're so good at it that a person who in another universe might, like, if I prod enough, would probably become like a full-blown socialist.
Yeah,
is susceptible to like straight up Nazbolism.
Yeah,
and I had no idea. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So I'm kind of worried about your friend here, man.
Should I just? I wonder if I should just like toss him like a Vosh debate with a Nazi. You know
Seriously,
what I mean?
I think that would
just
actually
slide
be really,
one into his texts and be like, "Yo, watch this."
That'd be really effective, especially if he's already receptive to like debates and like podcasts as it is. It's really easy to throw like a Vosh video on and just like listen to it while you're doing other things.
I know he respects my opinion, which is why we had such a good talk about it.
Yeah, Nazis don't respect my opinion at all, so I can't.
I wouldn't respect a Nazi's opinion. So
I mean, well, what I'm saying is like it's hard to change someone's mind when they see you as inferior. That's why, like with the BLM, with the BLM things, it's a lot better to have a white face on that thing. That's what not a white face. Retract all of that. What like the white person's goal should be is to like be anti-racist, to go and talk to their friends anytime they hear that, to go ahead and call them on that, because you come at it from like an equal level. You come at it from an equal level, and they're more likely and more receptive to listen to an equal than someone that they deem inferior. If it's easy to like basically like disregard my comments and just like, you're just crying about it because you're black, or you're just crying about it because you don't like the way it's working out. But coming from a peer, they're more likely to internalize it and actually like think about it and be like, okay, well, maybe you're right. It's really easy to dismiss me as coming from like a Nazi perspective. So
it's really unfortunate, like, that's the reality, because you don't even have to be a Nazi to be reactionary and dismiss like black voices. Like we see it all the fucking time. Like conservatives do it all the time too, and it's really gross. One of the cool things about being in the military is that it's actually like a good aspect of an unfortunate thing, because the amount of enlistment from colored communities,
I agree, Swish Biscuits,
is disproportionate in the military. It disproportionately targets Latinos and black people, right? There's a higher percentage of them in the military than
that's because it targets poor people, man.
Exactly. So
I mean, the chance at an education, the chance at like decent healthcare and like a retirement, those are things that are like out of like the window, out of like the options of most poor people. And who makes up a disproportionate amount of poor people? Minorities.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
So one of the unintended positive side effects. Okay, a lot of people don't realize how important that is for the day-to-day culture of the military. There are a lot of black leaders in positions of authority in the military. I've everywhere I go, there are black NCOs and black officers.
Hey, that's what's up.
And women too, everywhere. It's actually like kind of crazy how different it is from reality, from like the outside world.
Yeah.
So there's no space for it. Now that changes when you go into like the really niche communities, like the special forces communities, the really small, atomized ones. But like within the regular big army, it's like it's a total fucking melting pot. And it was something I never expected. I thought when I came in, I thought I was gonna be surrounded by white supremacists and shit. I thought I was so worried. But people, it must be different now, because people, maybe it's a generational thing, because people are not afraid to talk about especially young black soldiers, are not afraid to talk about the issues.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to talk about the George Floyd protest.
Hey, that's what's
the Black
up.
Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is a constant thing that I'm seeing. Maybe it's because I'm medical, and medical has a different culture than all of that.
See,
but
I thought
it was actually really surprising to me.
Yeah, I thought for the most part, like, the military leaned like pretty conservative, and like they.
I think it does. I mean, I'm not going to say I don't see trucks driving around with huge American flags and giant Trump stickers on it all over the fucking place.
God.
You know,
yeah,
like,
we got those around here.
Of course,
we got a lot of thin blue line, a lot of like Trump 2020.
But the demographic makeup is more conducive to including black voices in conversations more often. My unit is 20 people, and there's like half of us are minorities. It's like crazy. It's a whole different reality than like going to work in a pizza restaurant in Austin where everybody's white, and you're in a gentrified area and all of your customers are white. You know what I mean? It's so different.
Of course.
Yeah. I wish I could. Maybe when I get out, I'm gonna have like a lot to say about it. I'm gonna have so much to say about it. But there's a lot I can't, for obvious reasons. And yeah, I agree with you. No one does take lady debaters seriously. We need some debate chicks. We need debate chicks on the left.
True. We need more black voices on the left, minority voices. We're pretty much, and I
agree.
see it on Twitter all the time, how leftist spaces are dominated by white men. And I mean, I don't know if it's just like minority creators just don't get recognized as much, or like they're just easier to dismiss. But when you look at it, yeah, dude. What's her name? The black trans girl. I can't remember her channel right now. She had a huge video on why is BreadTube so like overwhelmingly white, and she went into it a whole bunch. I can't remember her name right now. I
don't think I saw that video. If you find it, send it to me, and I'll put it out for my people, my tiny little bubble, because that's interesting. That it's absolutely true. That like, I think Peter Coffin, you know him. He's the white guy. But he had a moment on Twitter recently where he was like, dude, just delete, just like escape RedTube, because RedTube has become like a white bourgeois fucking space, right? Like all these RedTubers are rich now and privileged. I don't know how I feel about all that. I haven't really sat down to digest that perspective, but it does seem that whenever like a new thing comes along, it doesn't seem like it's a coincidence that like some new social problem will be spearheaded by minorities and black people, and the next thing you know, the people speaking authoritatively on it are all white.
I put it in the Discord.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah,
I wonder.
Cat Black.
Oh, excellent. Cat Black.
Yeah.
Why is LeftTube so white?
Yeah. So it's good to look into it. I mean, you can add Vosh, and I guess does Destiny count as LeftTube? I don't know.
Yes, I think Destiny does count as BreadTube. He doesn't. He's mostly because he's progressive socially, but not because of his economics. You know what I mean?
True.
He's obviously a capitalist, but I think he should be included because just look at what he did to those Nazis with Destiny.
Vosh. Yeah, they murdered. It was really funny to me that they specifically requested black like people.
I had heard about that before the debate.
They specifically requested like black debaters, and I guess they couldn't find any or something. But like the entire thing is like from their viewpoint, black people are dumb. Black people are like stupider than white people. So why would you want to debate them? Why would you want to debate them?
Well, because they want to punch down. They want it. Okay, this is the classic failure of fascist logic, that fascists are incapable of properly estimating the
strength of their
threat level and the strength of their opponents. So this is why the Germans misunderstood and underestimated the Russians, because they believed Slavs were Untermensch, and they believed that they were barbarians. They called them the Huns and all this stuff. Well, guess what? Turns out the fucking Soviets were really fucking strong and had a lot of willpower, right? Yeah. And the same thing happened with the Russians in Japan, right? Imperialist Russia fought a war with Japan in the early 19th century, and their racism prevented
Russian
them.
War? I can't remember. Is it the Sino-Russian War? No, that's China.
it was the I don't
I
know, it
can't
was like
remember. I can't
1904 or
remember.
something like
Yeah,
that.
super
They
early,
had a
but
naval
Japan
battle.
kicked their ass.
They had a naval battle, and the whole world was shocked when the Japanese
Yeah.
beat the fuck out of them.
Yeah, because Japan industrialized extremely quickly,
Yeah,
and they were thinking, Russia industrial power should be able to go and topple, this little land dispute super easily.
there was a strong belief that white Western imperialist powers were indefeatable, and that the
Yeah,
Japanese were
and it was the
savages.
first
And oh
time.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay, they have their little boats now, but when they go up against a real navy that has a
yeah,
history and real admirals and real tactics, they're not going to stand a chance. And then
and
they
I think
got
it was
the
the first
fucking
time.
shit kicked
Yeah,
out of them.
it was probably the first time. Yeah, you were saying it shocked the world. Probably the first time that they looked and were just like, "Oh fuck!"
Exactly,
Oh,
that's
shit.
exactly what happened. They went, "Wait a minute," and then
That
from there
wasn't
on, the
supposed to
Japanese
happen.
were actually like a part of the discussion. In the
Yeah, they were brought
intelligence.
to the table. Yeah.
But this is the same thing happening with that debate. These Nazis, these
Mm.
racists, and Stryker wasted no time making it known that he's like absolutely a white supremacist who thinks
Yeah,
that
he
black
dropped the
people
facade super
like
quick.
immediately, like his opening statement, he was like, "Black people are inferior." Like he basically said that. So like,
So why would you want to debate him?
I firmly believe that they thought they would be able to just win. They would
Yeah.
just be able to like go in there and just, oh, look, these black people don't know what they're talking about. We're just gonna end up smoking them, right?
Check it out. Check it out.
It's just so stupid.
1450.
because if they had debated, if you just changed the races of Destiny and Vosh and they came in just as prepared, it would have been the exact same thing. It would have been even more humiliating. It would have been just as bad for them because they would have expected to just walk all over them.
Yeah. Yeah. And then to just get absolutely dominated. Yeah, that's bad optics, dude. I think Vosh touched on it like later. Yeah, I think that's what Vosh was talking about later. He was just like, if you go to these boards, you won't see a lot of like praise for Vosh and like how he did. What you'll see is like all of the Nazis like ruminating over like, what the fuck were y'all thinking? Y'all got blown out. You'll see a lot of anger directed at the Nazis themselves by Nazis because they go in there and they act a fucking fool and then they get blown out. And it's just like, dude, that's such poor optics. And what's sad is the Nazis understand that better than the leftists do. They understand like what poor optics can do to a movement.
They deeply care about it.
Yeah, because that's their entire. That's how they work. That's how they operate. That's their entire prerogative.
They figured it out like 4 or 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, and they've been operating under this like MO, which is why debates are so fucking good. They should never have debated Vosh or Destiny. They should have never tried to debate two black people to try and put like if it's in their best interests to continue to just meme and be anonymous like 4chaners, right? It's in their best interest, but they can't help themselves because they overestimate their abilities because their ideology is inherently fucking irrational and blinds them to their own fucking hubris.
True.
So it's good. I want to see that more often. I think some people don't like debates. I get it. It stresses them out.
I get it, and it's not for everybody. It's really not for everybody. I'm not like an extremely confrontational person, but I wouldn't even say aggressive. Just what is the other A word? Assertive. And to be honest, whenever you advocate for like my destruction, of course I'm going to fight back. Like, I'm not just going to sit down and just take it. So I do want to actually get into debating Nazis and whatnot and blowing them out because it'd be all the sweeter to be blown out by the person that they hate the most.
I would love to see that. You have no idea how much I want to see that.
I
feel like there's got to be a black Vosh out there.
There's got to be. There's got to be a black Destiny, but they probably just don't have access to the resources like these white leftists that so dominate the left scene.
I have a feeling that if you were to try and challenge one of these dipshits, they would just take you up on it.
Probably. I mean, you see like how they specifically requested for black people because they thought they were dumber. They'd probably be like even more so inclined because watch me do this so easily. I won't even have to take my shirt off. I'm going to go blow this black dude out. And then I show study after study after study proving my points. Yeah. And eventually,
the same thing. You just have to do the same thing that Vosh and Destiny did because they don't have data. They don't have science.
They only have feelings, man. That's literally it. And like I know conservatives love to talk about like facts over feelings and whatnot,
Yeah.
but the facts have, I'm sorry to say it, a left-leaning bias. Like
It just so happens that academia is the way it is for a reason.
yeah.
This is why I don't know if you ever saw my the video I put out. I'm trying to.
I need to go watch that. I'm sorry, dude. I meant
No,
to
it's
like
fine.
grab that like first day. I'll watch it like later
It's
on.
kind of
when
like
I'm going to bed.
it sort of goes into the race realism thing and debunks a little bit of that. And I want to do a more thorough debunking of the race realist type of rhetoric, because I'm, as a biology major, as a person who wants to be an evolutionary biologist, like I already understand how full of shit you have to be to say, like you don't understand genetics if you're arguing for like a genetic reason for why people are different. Like it doesn't make sense from a biologist's perspective.
Yeah.
There was that that fascist biologist, the PhD that like debated Vosh like a month or two ago. Did you ever see that? He was like a French Canadian, and I'm telling you, that
No, I don't
motherfucker
think
was
so.
pissing me off. That he's like, I'm a PhD, so I know what I'm talking about when it comes to
Maybe.
biology.
It's kind of
And
ringing a bell.
he pushes a race realist perspective from biology, like trying to use his authority.
God.
And it was, oh my God, I was getting so mad during that because he was so wrong about so many things.
Yeah. Are you
So
sure
I
he
wanna
just
be that
wasn't
voice.
lying? Like I feel like I need a source on his degree.
He's apparently been cited and all this shit, and I'm like, dude, what kind of bullshit is going on? I mean, I'm gonna look it up. Fragile Canadian Nazi gets. Wait, this can't be it. No. I'll find it for you. Don't worry.
Hey, yeah, no worries.
I'll find it for you one of these days. It was a couple months ago. Fosh puts out a shitload of videos, but yeah,
Really,
I'm
he
interested
kinda
in
does.
dismantling the idea because race realism is a powerful way for Nazis and fascists to reel in disaffected young white men. Because the whole rational skeptic thing, you know, edgy young white boys think that, you know, they love the reason, they love the philosophy, you know, they love the Greek philosophers. They're enamored by that kind of aesthetic. So all it takes is one guy
you
to come
see,
around
like
and be
the
like,
Western traditionalists like blowing up all over Twitter and whatnot.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
they eat that shit up, and I want to be that voice that says, hey, like, bro, that's not how biology works at all. Like,
True. And honestly, like, it seems like LeftTube for the most part is pretty like academically like educated and whatnot. Think like Philosophy Tube. Think like, I want to say ContraPoints. I'm not sure about
ContraPoints. I don't know if ContraPoints has a degree, but their perspective is like really fucking like they're super intelligent. Whoever's she, and I think, does she get help to write her stuff? If she's writing it on her own, she obviously has
definitely
such a
in the
mature
beginning, but I mean she's really kind of like big now. At least like one of the biggest like LeftTubers.
She kills it.
I know in like one of her honestly like I really like the aesthetic. Really someone I kind of look up to. Like
I came for the aesthetic and I stayed for the wonderful
analysis. Like
analysis and self-deprecating humor. It's I can't get enough of Contra. I stand Contra.
I'll fangirl her like all day. Contra hit me up.
Yeah, exactly. When Contra appeared on Vosh's stream, the 100,000 sub stream,
that was
just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Got the warm and fuzzies big time for that.
Man. Yeah, maybe one day we'll get big enough to go and actually be able to like talk to people like this. We are absolutely nobodies right now, but we're gonna have some fun doing it. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to get up there. The biggest thing is like consistency, man. And I don't know about prepared content, to be honest.
I'm dabbling.
I'm dabbling. Yeah, I got like session 0 out. Session 1 kind of was an abject failure because I missed out on so much footage. That camera messed me up. But I got like footage of going and talking to what was it? State rep and whatnot. Like I've been giving like speeches and whatnot through like the BLM movement. When we go and have marches, I'm like one of the like front facing people. For the most part, I'm one of like the main three organizers here in my town.
I assure you, once you start getting footage and snipping together videos and putting that out,
Yeah.
And you're gonna have no problem growing if you do that all the time.
You think so?
I don't see. I see
appreciate
no
it.
reason because they're obviously really intelligent and well spoken. And
Hey,
if you go
I
out in the
appreciate
public
that.
and you're like, and people are like, "Oh, you're cool, man," you're like, "Dude, I got a YouTube channel. I stream on Twitch. I got a Twitter." Like,
Yeah.
before you know it, you're gonna be crossing 1,000 subs. And you know, like,
Dude,
I don't
that
see
would
why.
be a
Because
dream. I've never had a big social media presence ever because I never really invested in it. To be honest, I didn't have like the mental health or fortitude to really like keep up with like posting and posting and posting.
Yeah.
It takes a special kind of character, I think, to really like excel online. And I'm gonna try because you can turn that social capital into like financial capital, and then it's honestly like a positive feedback loop. You're able
you
to
become
like
self-sustaining for sure.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and that's what I would love to do because I'm trying to get out from under these corporate thumbs, man. You can see this.
Me too,
this
man.
desk-
Oh my god, I don't want to go back.
Man, it's
I-
shit on wheels, especially whenever you're thinking about it from like a Marxist perspective. Like when you go in, you're just like, dude, I'm not getting paid like what I'm worth. I'm not getting paid like at all. I'm getting crumbs off of what I make for this company, and it's really like to be a leftist in America is to suffer. Like that's literally it.
We're gonna get there though. I'm starting to feel really positive though.
Seriously, like seriously,
I'm starting to feel this whole man. It really fucking sucks that George Floyd had to die the way he died in order to make me feel this way. I feel the same way about my mental health because we're at 140,000 dead. And we had to lock down, and we had to lock down, and over 100,000 people had to die, and as a result of it, my mental health increased dramatically because of all the extra free time I had. And in the same vein,
and it's so sad. It makes me
so
sad. Yes. Like, because whenever I was getting off from work and everything, I was like, man, I was over here like setting up my wood shop. I was having a good time, and all the while people are out there dying, and I'm over here like, this is the best like mental health I've ever had.
I hope you understand. Well, you don't understand because I haven't told you, but I have like crippling anxiety, social anxiety.
Oh, damn, I didn't know. I wouldn't have been able to tell from our conversation.
A year ago, I would never have streamed.
Oh, hey,
you know
that's a big step. That's what's up. I actually have anxiety going on to stream. Like, I gotta like line everything up. Like, I got like a little list of videos that I go through. I'm not like super comfortable streaming yet. At least like talking
I'm not gonna lie.
I can do games.
It doesn't take a long time. If somebody like me can only take a few streams to actually get comfortable live streaming with a total fucking stranger and talking like with really personal subjects like this and not really feel that much anxiety anymore, except for that little butterfly right before you start.
It's getting over it's getting over that little hill.
This isn't just me trying to build an online thing and try to become a voice. It's like therapeutic for me, and it's actually had a material effect in my like real life world. I can talk to people more confidently. It's fucking crazy, and then that makes me feel guilty because people had to die. George Floyd had to die for me to feel positive about the future of the left. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I know
exactly
what you mean.
He didn't have to die. Like the way he died was fucking bullshit.
No,
and it sparked a movement that has done more for the left. No, I'm not even gonna try and make this about the left. It's done more for.
No, it's done more for the left, dude. It has done like a huge number on like I mean, just look at Trump's polls numbers for just for example. You can't really like take poll numbers like at face value, but like people are waking up to this shit, and it sucks that somebody had to die for this, and like we have like hundreds of thousands dying now.
Hundreds of millions of people watched his video, and it changed the world. And
I mean, dude, we have protests all over. Sup, how you doing? Yo, how's it going? I'm just gonna call you Sesk, dude.
Yo, you had a new viewer.
Yeah. How's it going, dude? Doing pretty good. We're having a great conversation with ApesinCostume here, going over pretty much how the pandemic and the killing of George Floyd is having a positive kind of resurgence for the left. And I think Trump honestly had a lot to do with that. It kind of woke the left up out of its stupor. We were kind of asleep.
Stupor's a great way to put it.
We were kind of asleep in all of like kind of lulled to sleep by Obama at like the 8 years, and it's just like what a nice way. And like everybody was looking up to America. I mean, we were still doing like horrific like war crimes and whatnot. So
totally.
But for the most part, America was seen as competent, and it was able to lull the left asleep. Trump has woken us up, and I think like this was a really opportune time. And honestly, the accelerationist in me saw this coming from 2016. Like I was just like, you know, it really sucks. Like Trump is here and like in power and whatnot, but maybe this will do something for like my causes or like for the left in general.
I have a theory about what's happening.
What's that?
And it goes back to the invention of the printing press.
Okay.
So
taking it way back.
Yeah. So the invention of the printing press changed the world, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Well, obviously,
disseminate
literacy
information.
became mainstream.
Yeah.
But as a result of that, the Protestant Revolution happened because people could begin to read the Bible and
Martin Luther
talk to each other about it. Martin Luther and all that stuff. You had a revolution.
95 Theses.
Yeah. It changed the world.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, the Renaissance was born. The Renaissance was a product of that.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, you know, our modern society, the Enlightenment, and then modern industry and capitalism and modern philosophy, political philosophy, and stuff like that. Well, I think what's happening right now is that we're having a similar, like, transformative event, and the internet is like the printing press. The ability to rapidly and instantaneously.
You have the wealth of human knowledge in your pocket at all times, and I don't think people really like utilize it enough. You're able to, like with Twitter and the entire like George Floyd thing, people were able to see that video, you said, like millions of times, and we wouldn't have been able to do that without the internet, without the advent of like cell phones and whatnot.
You had people in Tokyo marching in support of Black Lives Matter and George Floyd.
Tokyo, London, Paris, the world over.
You think the people of Japan 500 years ago gave a fuck about what was happening in Europe? Right. They just had no idea. They didn't know. There was no communication. And it's
we're having a conversation about politics. Hey, if it's something for you, man, drop a follow. But yeah, it definitely
for both of us.
True. It definitely had a revolutionary effect. And honestly, I say, hey, I appreciate it, man. Honestly, the internet is going. I mean, obviously, it's changed the world. Being able to see like the effect of it though is something completely different. Like obviously, it was going to change the world. You know, from anybody like on the scene back then, from their perspective. I mean, being able to share information like instantaneously.
So like, I'm gonna get okay, all right. So we had the printing press, we had the revolution that followed, and all of the changes to all of the societies around the world that resulted because of that. It had a huge ripple effect, massive, from just the invention of a small thing. And then we had the invention of the internet. Now, the reason why I'm so optimistic is, okay, so you didn't have, or we're undergoing political change. Obviously, we're entering a new era. We are crossing
of course
the end of the neoliberal era and entering the next, hopefully the second progressive era, is what I think is happening. It reminds me of the beginning, what I've learned about the beginning of the first one. You had the Gilded Age, then you had Depression, and then you had the rise in leftist sentiment that led to the progressive era, which built the country that we have. 50 years of political change, ending with, going all the way through the New Deal and all the way through JFK. Of course, we were still an imperialist country and whatever, but socially within the United States, it led to a lot of good. And I think hopefully that we're gonna enter the next progressive era. Like, we're currently ending the second Gilded Age. If you think about the neoliberal era as the Gilded Age,
and that's what that graph kind of relates back to.
Exactly. The Gilded Age was marked by an explosion in income inequality.
Yes. I mean, you had what were they? Like you had the rail and steel magnates. I can't remember what you had. Like Rockefeller, Carnegie, and I can't remember. There's like a couple others.
There's a good number of them.
There's a good amount of them, but like they were like the richest people like in the world, like the world over. And honestly, I would say
the whole system collapsed, and it birthed the suffragette movement. It eventually led to the civil rights movement.
Unfettered capitalism does that though. It's gonna breed income inequality, and I think we saw that back in the 70s and whatnot. Whenever you see like the wage and the production like skip off, like separate out, and again we're in another stage of where they thought it's not Keynesian economics. It's it's pretty much like unfettered laissez-faire capitalism. Yeah, I think we've moved back into like one of those, because back in the 30s and whatnot, during like the Great Depression, the 20s and 30s, they passed extremely strong social programs. Think
Yes.
like the Social Security was never thought of before. They helped like get like
I
housing
think we're on
and
the
whatnot.
cusp of more of that. We're
Yes,
on the cusp of the
definitely.
second generation. That's why the Green New Deal is named the way it is.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
because
Yeah,
it's,
they did that
it's
intentionally.
evoking that kind of era. And
Exactly.
so why I'm optimistic is not just because I think that's coming,
Mm,
but that debate between Destiny and Bosch and those two
mhm.
fucking dumbass Nazis
Yeah.
was emblematic of how powerful the internet is. These
Mm.
Nazis, okay, back in the 30s, Nazism and
Fascism was all.
fascism, racism, eugenics, all these things could spread quite easily without challenge because you had to meet people face to face to challenge it,
Yeah.
right? On the internet, you can have a debate with anyone anywhere, and it's
True.
permanent, and
Yeah.
it can be shared instantly. And that debate
Yeah.
perfectly encapsulated how irrational and how untenable fascism and
Dude,
Nazism are.
that hurt them a lot. That hurt them a lot. You could see them molding on 4chan.
Oh,
You
it
could see
hurt
them.
them so bad. And every
Yeah.
time they debate, it will hurt them.
Yes.
Every time they speak up, it will hurt. It's different than the
That's
30s.
why we
Or
need
every
to get
time
out there.
they could go out and they could go stand on a soapbox and they could yell about Jews and they could yell about this and that. And they could talk about the black race and the white
Mhm.
race. And they could yell all these things and people would gather because society was segregated. Other white people
Mm.
would gather and they'd be like, oh, this guy is actually kind of making sense. And then
Yeah.
nobody's there to challenge them. But it's different now. It's fucking different now.
Yeah.
This,
Something
we're
bad
doing the
does
same
need to
thing,
happen.
the same populist route.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to end differently because the internet exists this time.
Oh.
For the longest time, I was like, oh shit, man, we're just retreading the same steps. We're just going to end up in the same place that we did in the 30s. But it's like, no, we're not. We're not. I can share that photo of you raising your fist with a rifle on your back, arguing for workplace democracy, and you're a black man standing on the street corner in America. I can share that with anybody, anywhere, and be like, yo, this guy, I mean, what do you think about workplace democracy? This guy's out here fighting for it. He's fighting for your rights. I don't know. It just seems so, I think the instantaneous nature of conversation now is the undoing of that kind of hyper fascistic, hyper state oriented, hate driven ideology. I think it's gonna we had that period where 4chan was kind of growing, that stuff, it had a rise, but now the downfall is happening as the reality of our situation continues to be passed around.
Yeah. I got a dude asking a question. He said he saw around the internet that many people in the U.S. are starting to move towards socialism/communism. For the record, he's not from the U.S., but he's asking if it's true. Honestly, from my perspective, I think the left is actually having like a huge resurgence.
Absolutely.
We've been
100%
kind of
agree
like,
with that.
we've definitely, I mean, think of just a couple decades ago with like McCarthyism and whatnot. The anti-communism propaganda machine was extremely strong here in the U.S. One of these, I mean, it's the strongest propaganda machine like the world over.
Who were they called? Those two communists that were put to death?
I can't remember.
They put a couple of them to death in the 50s. Was it the Luxembourgs?
I'm not sure.
No, I'm thinking
I would
of
think.
I'm thinking of somebody. I'm thinking of there's a family of communists in the 50s that were actually put to death by the U.S. government for just because they were communists.
Yeah.
I think they were called spies and shit, but
Yeah. I mean, you could pretty much just hurl these things at anybody. Yeah, I would definitely say that we're moving towards more left-wing ideology. Look at the candidates that are winning elections now. Bernie Sanders was kind of the start of a more left-wing populist movement. But you see, like, AOC won her re-election race. Jamal Bowman won his in New York. We are ousting like mainstream Democrats, like centrist Democrats, and installing more progressive candidates. Progressive candidates are winning. Progressive candidates are like
Rosenbergs. That's what they were. The
Rosenbergs. Okay. Huh.
Ethel and Julius Rosenberg were put to death. They were husband and wife. To answer your streamer, I read his statement about socialism and communism. Listen, my dude, you learned that authoritarianism sucks.
Right.
You guys didn't learn about socialism. You learned about totalitarian rule and central control.
You got a bastardized version of socialism.
That almost always fails in any fucking state.
Yeah, exactly. Whenever I think about this, I think back to one of Richard Wolff's talks about authoritarianism and how you kind of got a bastardized version of socialism. What you got, instead of corporations and like the production like facilities being run by workers, they were instead run by state officials. They tried to have like a planned economy, and honestly it didn't work out. It wasn't going to work out, especially with how low like automation was back then. You need those workers to take on roles of power, not be installed by like state officials and just appointed. It's never going to work out through I guess ham-fisted like authoritarianism. You got to listen in authoritarianism.
Yeah, the thing to understand about American socialists and Americans in general is that we strongly dislike authoritarianism from left to right.
True.
We have a very powerful libertarian tradition in this country.
Definitely. I mean, we were started by like libertarians. The entire revolution was libertarian.
If socialism comes to America, it will not look like the Soviet Union. We will not have authoritarian single-party states like running things, and where your boss at work is a party member and you have to answer to him. That's not socialism to me. That's not socialism to most Americans.
Not being able to dissent. No. Socialism for Americans, dude, is like completely like different. Socialism and Americans, they don't even have the right definition of socialism most times.
Exactly. When it comes, it's going to look completely different. We're not going to make the same weird mistakes that they made. We don't like central planned economies. We don't like single party. Like, can you imagine? So he wants to ask more questions.
Yeah, definitely, dude. That's what we're here for.
Go for it, man. Because I just want to stress to you that this idea of the Soviet bloc and the Iron Curtain and the tankies, like the U.S. sending in tanks to suppress, or like the USSR sending in tanks to suppress the freedom, like the people in that state. I don't think that's in a socialist state here. It wouldn't happen, because we would have a demilitarized state. Like we wouldn't have tanks. Like we're trying to dismantle our fucking police and military structure, not strengthen it.
Yeah. Honestly, that's what one of my whenever I went and talked to my state rep, that was my biggest thing, was moving the funding from police into like mental health services and whatnot. Because here in just my town alone, we spend, the budget for the town is like 17 million. 10 million of it comes from taxes and whatnot, and the other 7 million or 9 million, something like that, comes from like water companies and like the electric companies and like renting out, just like other streams of revenue and whatnot. So the police here in my small town, they get 5.5 something million every year, and
basically a third of the budget.
Yes, a third of the budget, half of every tax dollar. Yes, and it's just like they don't do anything. Police don't actually like help like to solve crimes or whatnot. They don't test any rape kits. That's the thing. That video
I told you about, the guys, the black dudes who showed up with weapons. They asked them about the police, and he goes, "Look, man, one of the things you need to understand." And he's sitting there with an AK on his chest and shit, and a pistol on his side. He was badass. He says, "Listen, like, the police aren't crime fighters. They're crime responders."
Yes, and they don't even do that right.
By the time you're calling the police, you've already been fucked up.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it works.
And what we're trying to do is crime prevention. Crime prevention in the way of, think, higher education, housing. The crime is not some random act. Like, it's never random. It's entirely predictable. If you have a populace that is oppressed, they're hungry, they're basically, what it comes down to is rich people don't commit crimes. Do you know why? All of their needs are satisfied. All of them. Poor people commit crimes out of necessity. That's it. That's literally it. Crime is a completely, investment in community services, because that actually lowers crime. Man, check that out. Crazy. Police, they're responders. You call the police when something's already been done. I'm trying to get in between that step. I'm trying to pretty much make the police obsolete. You won't need them.
I was about to say that. Make them obsolete by curing the ailments.
Exactly.
And I mean, maybe even if you were to like theoretically do everything possible to make the police obsolete, you would still have like just
you'd
a couple
still have
of policemen.
crimes.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like
yeah.
a really
You would still have.
tiny,
You'd still have to have jails. You'd still have to have prisons or
you
whatnot.
know, you'd
Because
have
people are still
you'd have
gonna
a couple
murder.
of cops that would like show up to like a bar fight and be like,
Yeah.
hey, what the fuck happened here? You know,
Yeah.
restore the order, you know, to like a violent act, like moment or whatever. But like 5%.
What'd you do? Like, what policies were
What
put
kind?
in
Yeah,
place?
what kind of community investment did you guys do? Because I mean, just simply like it's so funny because if I could go back in time, when I was like a young leftist and I didn't really understand a lot about politics, and I was arguing with much older people,
Yeah.
they'd be like, "Wait a minute, you're talking about redistributing wealth?"
Mm-hmm.
Now I'd be like, "Yeah, let's fucking do that." Whereas because it was like a gotcha back then because I didn't know what was going on. I was like, "Oh, that doesn't sound good,"
Yeah.
like. I would be like, well, I guess they earned their money and they should keep it, and redistributing
Right.
wealth is bad. But now it's
Right.
like, dude, like this whole system is based around redistributing the wealth from poor to wealthy people. Like,
Yeah,
it's a fucking
exactly. It's a
vacuum.
freaking pipeline.
So yes, redistributing the wealth back the other way is correcting the fucking problem.
Exactly. I'm trying to go through this report real quick to see economic shifts that will impact crime control and community revitalization. I'm trying to find a study real quick to back up my points here. The number of fathers, children who are more prone, high incarceration rates. Jesus, this is dense. There's an increase in the number of high poverty areas. Yeah, and poverty is the highest indicator of whether you would like commit crimes or not.
Yeah, they're strongly correlated for a reason.
Extremely.
Especially if you have like kids and shit, like that biological imperative to do everything you can to support your family is powerful, and I'd imagine has driven a lot of people to do things they don't want to do.
True. I don't think anybody wants to push weed. I don't think anybody really wants to go out and like fucking gangbang. I don't really think like that.
People just want to like have a decent life.
Yeah, people
kids.
want
like,
fraternity. For the most part, like the only reason people even immigrate here is the chance at them prospering. That's all anybody ever wants. When it comes down to it, you just want to see you and your family prosper. Now, what can we do about that? That's where that's the questions I want to be asked and answered. Everybody wants to prosper. We have the resources in order to like make this happen. We produce enough food for like 11 billion people. Keep in mind there's only 7 billion. So it's not a resource problem. It's an allocation problem. It's not getting the shit to the people that need it. When it comes down to it, we're not getting what we need.
When people argue that capitalism is the best system for allocating resources or whatever, they're forgetting that it's only good at allocating resources for corporations.
Right.
For business.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
It has nothing to do with actual people. It has everything to do with the economic system allocating resources. Yeah, it's great at fucking price controls and stuff like that, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to end up with broke ass neighborhoods that are fucked.
True.
Out of opportunity. So it's just the way it is. Like we need to. This is why I think I'm not a social democrat or whatever, but it's a common sense way to address capitalism.
Yeah, it's a step. But for the most part, like while we have capitalism in place, you're always going to have income inequality. You're always going to have these issues with poverty. It's by design. You have to have that underclass. You have to always have.
Gotta be losers, man.
The prime operating rate of what's it called, of capitalism, like the prime unemployment rate for capitalism is like 3 to 5%. You have to have that underclass of people that are constantly looking for jobs so that the capitalist is able to always keep that position of power over you where you're always replaceable. There's
always somebody around the corner that can just take your job if you're upset with the conditions or whatever.
Yeah. So it makes people, it quells like a lot of their what's the word? Their will to fight, I guess.
Yeah, it does. It quenches it.
Yeah, because you got to think like your entire life is invested in your job for the most part. Your health insurance is tied to your job. If you lose your job, you're probably going to lose your house. We have no social safety nets here in America, like at all. So people are more inclined
it's just
to
like such a disaster.
Dude.
Like you wouldn't have thought 6 months ago, hey man, if a pandemic strikes the United States and 40 million people lose their jobs, what's going to happen to them?
Right.
Like, you would have been told, that's never going to happen. Like,
Yeah,
what
and
are you
here we are
talking
living
about?
through it.
And now look at the abject failure. Capitalism is so great at allocating resources that it failed to allocate all the masks and fucking
About that.
and ventilators that we would need for this. If you left it to capitalist like forces, the invisible hand, as it were, well, it's not going to produce an excess of medical resources because they're not going to be needed until they're needed, and then capitalism will respond to the need.
Again, it's a response.
It's not a proactive system. Yeah. So that's why the government exists, so that we can foresee the things that
the government literally like swiped a whole bunch of medical supplies and then made it like sold it back to the states, so the companies got to basically like double dip the shit, because the government gave it to companies to distribute to the states, so the states were all in like a bidding war against one another. I think Andrew Cuomo went into that. It's really ridiculous, like the way that they did it. Yeah, and it was all off the back of what's his name, Jared Kushner. Like Jared Kushner. Classic, right?
That's a boy
that
right
dude that
there. Jared Kushner.
He says we invest to people that were living in poverty, and we gave them jobs and basically gave them new start. So we give our money to people that needed that. Not everyone took that chance, because sometimes people are kind of dumb. Well, it's not about giving money to people. It's about giving like housing. Stable housing is a huge draw to
what is the stat I saw? That there's 500,000, there's 500,000 homeless people and 15 million empty homes in America.
Yeah, it's 22 times the amount of homeless to homes. London was able to completely clean up their entire homeless population in a weekend. When the pandemic started. Shit. In a weekend.
Wait, so they got all the homeless people off the streets during the pandemic?
They were able to house them all within a weekend. These are not like we have this by design. We have this by choice. We have all of this by choice. We have homeless people by choice. We have people that go and die in hospitals by choice. We choose to have these things. Capitalism chooses it for us, and our government reinforces it behind it. So it's really ridiculous to think that we could just, I guess, like give people money and everything will be okay. Because like this is why I'm against like UBI and whatnot. Because when you think about it, if you give everybody $1,000 at the first of the month, the capitalists are gonna fucking exploit that shit. Whether it be the landlords, whether it be the store. Yeah, you have to give like actual like social services, not money. Throwing money at a problem where the entire like issue is that people are being fleeced of their money is not gonna do anything about it, because they're just gonna like fleece them more.
Especially the way Andrew Yang proposed it, which would like supplant social services if you were poor,
right?
Which means it's like effectively a tax cut for everyone except for poor people,
dude,
who now have to choose between $1,000 a month, which they're going to take, or really critical social services. So other people just get the $1,000. Broke people now have to choose.
Yeah,
and that shit is super regressive. It's just, it ends up being a tax cut for people who make over like the median income, basically. Like it ends up being $1,000 right back in their pocket.
Right, and the poor people are gonna spend it mostly on housing and food and whatnot. And you really think like them landlords aren't gonna charge more when they know people have access to like $1,000 just straight up? Of course.
Oh yeah, do that. Rent's gonna jump like $500 instantly, and then it'll creep up
exactly
faster after that.
So like the government would have to constantly be increasing like the payments to us the entire time, because it's capitalism has a funny way of fleecing poor people of all of the money that they have. You pay poor taxes everywhere. Every time a cop stops you and gives you a ticket, to a rich person, like that's fucking nothing. Jeff Bezos racked up like $16,000 worth of just parking tickets when they were building his house out in LA. Do you think a regular person could do that? To a rich person, fines are just the cost of doing that thing.
When I was 20, I worked in a law firm as a runner. It wasn't glamorous, trust me. I was just
I mean, so I've never even been exposed to like white collar jobs. I've been working like blue collar jobs like since I started.
It was an immigration firm, so they were mostly working on getting Southeast Asian immigrants to the U.S.
That's what's
up. It was pretty cool. But like, there's a lot of rich motherfucking lawyers in that place.
Yeah.
And I'd run to get shit notarized at the government and like get them coffee and stupid shit. Like
okay.
that. Sometimes I would drive them around and like, but like the main partner, the person that whose name
on the
was on the
building.
fucking wall,
Yeah.
right? That motherfucker drove like this expensive ass Jaguar and just had like tickets bursting out of his glove box.
Doesn't even surprise me. It's just the
didn't
cost
give
of
a
them
shit.
doing it.
He just didn't give a shit because he was a
Yeah.
multi
Exactly,
fucking
because that's a
multi-millionaire.
scrap of their wealth. That's a less than 1% of their wealth. But a $300 ticket for a poor person, that's a half a check.
Yeah, I've been there where you
Exactly.
you get a ticket and you're like, fuck, my next 3 months are ruined
Right.
from this.
Right. That's a poor tax, dude. That doesn't actually like improve the community in any way, shape, or form at all. That only puts people in the hole. We should
I'm down for tying ticket prices to wealth.
like
But
Finland,
I'm also
dude.
yeah, like a percentage of your income.
Yeah.
I mean, not like a big one, but a percentage, so that now wealthy people actually have to think about it.
Yeah. Exactly. Hell, because if it was even like 0.00001% of somebody's wealth, and Jeff Bezos had to sit back and pay 0.0001, yeah, hundreds of millions, dude, for a fucking parking ticket, he would never park out of line, bro, because just thrown to a fire. And you know what? Them cities, honestly, they should have an incentive to pass it, because them rich people, them some big fish, bro. There's some big fish.
Exactly, yeah. Think of the revenue increases, and then you can shift the tax burden away from poor people once, I don't know. There's a lot of things you can fucking do, but it needs to start being done. So like, I'm not a fan of like, I am a fan. Okay, my sister. Oh, the fucking thing that I was talking about my sister earlier was demographic stuff, or I should say generational stuff.
Put a pin in it for 1 second. I have to go take a leak.
Sure. Yeah, go for it. Me too. Red Bull goes straight through you. We'll be right back, guys.
I'm not too sure what I how are you liking the conversation so far? You're asking chat. Honestly, I'm really enjoying this conversation. Plans for next time though. I think we do want to go over climate change. I actually got a couple things for videos here. Some actual topics. Both of them were gone. Oh well, is what it is. People come and go. You'll see like huge streamers lose like hundreds of people when they go take a bathroom break. So, I actually got a couple topics here. These are actually supposed to be for videos, but hey, this is content. This is content. I'll wait till he gets back to go over them, though.
Okay.
Yo, you're back.
We are back. I had to get water this time.
Oh, nice.
It's like 3:30 here, so it's time to actually hydrate.
Oh, true. Oh yeah, I guess El Paso. That's really weird that El Paso would be in a different time zone than.
If you look at the map, it's like the time zone, central time zone, ends like 10 miles to the east of us. Like they cut it off right there, and then go, no, you're Mountain Time. Even though the rest of the Texas, that Panhandle area, everything north of us, going west in New Mexico, is part of Mountain Time. But
that's crazy.
Most of Texas, right underneath it, is Central. It's really weird. I wish they would have just included us in Central Time, but.
Yeah. Squish Biscuits asked anything that we want to cover in these next segments, and I actually got a couple cards here. These are supposed to be video topics that I wanted to go over. So I'll go ahead and just do it on stream here. So I got
Yeah, go
climate
for it,
change, but we already said that we are going to talk about climate
We
change.
can.
At some
I wanted
future.
to ask you next time we have a talk. Do you want to go
Mm.
much deeper into climate change if you're
Sure.
interested?
Yeah, definitely.
We can go much more into that.
Yeah, I got sex education and abortions, wealth inequality, egalitarianism, the axiom, the philosophy of Antifa, trans rights, which is like AKA gay rights too, electric boogaloo. Got all cops are bastards. Yeah, and I got a couple little facts on here. Unions versus corporations and how you're being manipulated. Socialism versus communism versus anarchism versus social democracy. The war on drugs. Toxic masculinity and incels. And the rights issue with education. So like monarchy and nobles literacy rates versus like, you know, like the populace and whatnot. Loyalists are usually educated. It's really cool. I've had these things sitting on my desk for months. I've been wanting to get into like prepared content for a while, but it just hasn't really.
For sure.
Yeah, and then monopolies. I found another one over here.
You know that video I put out is only 12 minutes long, but I can tell you right now, the writing, editing process fucking drained me. It was my first video, so maybe it gets better the more you do it. But I haven't even started working on the next one. It's been like 2.5 weeks because I'm just like,
I'm already behind. I actually have session 1 like half chopped up and like loaded in, but then like I don't know, man. Editing is like so. It's hard to like learn a new skill while like trying to put together like a cohesive message, and yeah, man, it's hard. I think we just got to stay on top of it though, to be honest. So
it is. All right, so which did you want to dive in one of these topics?
Definitely...
Oh wait, let's that pin that we put in right before the break. I just wanted to mention.
Yeah.
This kind of goes into some leftists. All right, let me just go ahead and do it. So I know it's kind of a faux pas to be like generational about your critiques on people in the left, because boomers and other people, they're workers too.
Yeah.
They're affected by the same systems and whatever.
Well,
but
they've mainly benefited from the systems.
True. That's my problem. Is that and I get this criticism from my sister a lot, that I shouldn't do that. But I can't help but think about the fact that we haven't passed a state amendment since a federal amendment to the Constitution since 1991.
I saw a meme on Twitter where it was like Thomas Jefferson was saying like the Constitution needs to be like revamped every 19 years, and he's just like, he comes back from the dead and he's just like, oh man, how's that Constitution doing? How many what are you guys on, like 18, 19 now? And he's like, no, we've just been using the same one. He's like, you what?
Yeah, it's like we average, if you include the Bill of Rights, we average like one amendment every 10 years, but we haven't. If you don't include the Bill of Rights, it's closer to 20 years, right?
Yeah.
But we haven't had one since fucking 19. It's been 30 years since the last one. So there's been almost no attempt to take the Constitution, which is supposed to change over time, and actually change it. And that's the fault of the generation above us. I feel like being too comfortable. I don't know how to put it. 'Cause, I don't know.
Well,
so what are your thoughts on that?
Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I have a perfect point to add to this. I gotta open the door for my sister though.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So my thoughts on it, on like the reason they still support capitalism for the most part, and like they're mainly more conservative, is that when they were 30, when boomers were 30, they controlled 30% of the total wealth in America.
Fuck, I'm 30.
Yeah, right.
This is about to get really personal.
Yeah, when Gen X was 30, they controlled 13% of the world's wealth, or the U.S.'s wealth. Millennials, just take a wild guess how much of the percentage of wealth that we own.
Well, I'm gonna guess it's in the single digits.
Yes.
7%.
3%.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's so bad.
Yes. So there's a reason like they still support the system, and why we have such huge issues with it.
1/10.
Yeah.
1/10.
Yep.
I know for a fact my dad was a homeowner at my age.
Yeah. I mean, the systems were set up to like give them give them like loans, give them access to like healthcare. You got to think America had a lot more social safety nets, and they've been eroded and eroded and eroded. Especially with like the fall of unions and whatnot, a lot of our stuff has just been eroded away. Your dad probably worked a union job. We had a lot. It was a way higher percentage.
He absolutely. I can tell you for a fact he's a part of one of the most powerful unions, one of the most powerful private unions in the country.
Yeah, and I believe
not even a public one. Like he's not part of the government. Like and he's very anti-union, which is just delicious irony. Yeah, he's a big conservative for sure. He's like one of like you know how many hours I had to listen to Rush Limbaugh spew his fucking bullshit.
Oh God! Oh, I'm so sorry.
Hundreds of hours.
Holy crap! Jesus.
It's a wonder I'm not like fucking brain dead right now. But I know firsthand how the psyche of the conservative has changed over the last 20 years or so. So privacy time. Yeah. It's fucking weird. But yeah, it makes me wonder like why. Oh yeah, that is true. When I was 13, we moved to Austin, and Austin is very liberal. So I was thankfully, I don't know. When I was in Memphis, I was still actually kind of different, but Austin was definitely the end of it. But like, going back to what I was saying. So it makes me wonder, like, okay, so we had the Rodney King riots of like, what was it, 92?
Something like that.
And then we had a very similar thing happen this year with George Floyd. And
I mean, dude, we're still fighting for the same issues back from the civil rights era. Yeah. Literally these same, like I still see these same signs. You'll see them all in black and white. I can't think about it.
I saw somebody who got a full leg tattoo, like on their thigh, going all the way down to their calf, of all the civil rights, examples of signs. Of people holding signs.
And they're still the exact same signs.
And then it had a few of them from the civil rights movement, and then a few of them, going back in time.
Yeah.
All the different.
We're still facing the same issues today.
It's so like. So, like, to somebody who was, like, my parent, who was, what, like, 30 back in the early 90s, who had everything, the economy was great for, like, privileged people, right?
True.
And generally just better for the generation in general. And I know that there's this pervasive idea that, like, if you were, especially in the white, not the non-black communities in America, that just, like, the civil rights just, like, fixed everything, you know what I mean? Like, everybody was colorblind back then, and everybody was, like, acting like, oh no, everything's good now. Like, we had the civil rights movement, so we don't have to worry about it anymore.
Dude, I still hear it from Obama. Like, Obama was president, so their racism's gone.
Yeah, for sure. Wealth inequality was the lowest ever in the 80s. Well, right at the very beginning, yeah.
Yeah.
But throughout the 80s was when it exploded.
That's whenever it really started to get eroded away.
Right around 1980 was when things split. So by the end of the 80s, you're still thinking, oh yeah, things are pretty good. Like the stock markets are exploding, and civil rights solved everything, and there's no more racism in America, and the Cold War just ended.
Was a good aesthetic, man. They got some good music, man. I love Prince.
Yeah, they got a good aesthetic. Music. That's true. They had. That's one reason I believe why they were so comfortable was the fucking music scene back then. But it's like they haven't tried to change anything.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that whole generation is still riding on the high of like the late 80s. It's fucking 30 plus years later, and they're still telling us things are good. They're still telling us that the American dream works. And like you just said, we own 3% of the wealth at 30. I'm 30 right now, man. That like hurts me. I'm like, ow. What about Gen Z? How much worse is it going to be for them? And
they're probably going to have like 2%.
It's going to
1.5%.
Eventually, we're going to run out of percents. Like,
right.
There's not going to be any left. So like, it's just, either haven't tried or actively prevented. True. So, and then they have this whole like originalist constitution bullshit that I hear from like people like the libertarian right, that the Constitution is static and was never meant to change and blah blah blah. Even though I don't know, I'm just ranting at this point. I should stop. I've just like, I'm optimistic about the future, but goddamn, the last like 30 or 40 years have been a disaster leading up to today.
Well, it kind of
I guess you got to hit rock bottom, right?
Right. It created the conditions that made this entire like movement possible, I guess. And it kind of sucks.
It's true. Too many Red Bulls.
Invest in some tea, man. No, I'm kidding. I got some fucking energy drink in this cup.
now I'm hydrating, so I'm gonna be peeing like crazy later. But so yeah, do you want to like grab one of those cards and have a topic about that, or do you want to do something?
I think that honestly we should save it for the next one, man. We can
definitely.
You think so? I think so, man. I think we did some good work. This is a good introduction and whatnot. Glad to meet you. Glad to see your face.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate it. It was so pleasant. It was a wonderful conversation.
Seriously. We'll definitely talk again in the future.
Absolutely. So to anybody in this audience, I'm ApesinCostume.
Yeah.
Come check me out on Twitch. I'm on Twitter at ApesinCostume. I'd love to see you. I'll be talking with Sageboy again in the future. Definitely. I'll be around. So yeah, I'm gonna post this VOD on YouTube. So hopefully tonight or tomorrow it'll be up, the whole thing, just pretty much unedited. So yeah, anybody who misses it can go back and see it. We can share it around, etc. So
definitely.
So yeah, it was really fun. We'll come up with a topic next time. I don't know if you want to do the climate change thing, but maybe we can dive into those cards if you haven't started producing.
I have it. So we can definitely do climate change, probably like wealth inequality, and what's another good synergetic one?
You know what I want to do? The anarchism, social democracy, communism, and socialism one. I think I want to do that.
All right, sounds fun.
Because I want to talk about how my beliefs have evolved, and of course I want to know how you feel about the whole left wing and how you hold your beliefs. So mine have changed pretty dramatically in the last 5 years, and now I'm in a weird place. Especially right now, I'm in a weird place, and I'd like to talk about it with somebody who can help me.
For the most part, I've always been like libertarian, but only in like the last couple years. I think it was honestly with, again, like I said, with like Obama and whatnot, everybody was kind of asleep. I just call myself a liberal. Now, like right now, if you call me a liberal, I'm gonna be pretty upset. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm not a lib, like, at all. But yeah, we could definitely talk about that, and it definitely sounds like a good conversation to me. I think this one right here was excellent, and
yes,
we definitely need to branch out and get like some other people on. And
yes, I would love to do. I'm totally down to try for the first time like 3 or 4 people at once, maybe 4 or 5, like, and have like a whole discussion.
We got to find some good people.
Yeah. I think we can make it work. I'm going to continue to try and reach out and get more people on my stream.
Awesome.
Build some network, some relationships up, and maybe we can start building like a little community, like a shared community together.
Yes,
you know what
definitely,
I mean?
definitely.
So yeah, it was really super awesome. I'm so happy I got to talk to you. Going all the way back to that picture, man. That picture I've got up on my screen. Fucking badass. Check out Sageboy on Twitter. He's a fucking cool dude.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Based as fuck. Fuck. I mean, you won't find anybody more based. Anyways, Apes, it was awesome talking to you. I think I'm going to get out of here. I got to go hang out with my sister for a little bit. And it looks like you're just at about 3 hours. I'm about 2.5. So I think this is a good place to end it, man.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you have a great one. And I'll talk to you next time.
Yes, sir. You too, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Bye.